Hey guys, it's Courtney from Cosmic Clarity Astrology. I'm finally feeling well again and I'm super excited to dive back into my videos. So today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Libra happening on April 12th. We're going to be going through all the signs, but before we do that, I want to go over the full forecast for the overview. So, what is a full moon in Libra about? Well, Libra has a lot to do with balance. It has a lot to do with relationships. And in particular, it is something that often will come up at times when we are uncertain or we need to make a decision. Libra does tend to kind of waffle between two possibilities. So these might be focal points right now for us at this full moon. What's particularly interesting about this full moon in particular is the fact that Chiron is conjunct the sun, and you can see it here. It's at 23 degrees of Aries, right on the sun. And Chiron tends to bring up painful circumstances that need to heal and to restore balance with Libra to something that has maybe wounded our sense of confidence and our belief in ourselves, which is Aries. Aries is a lot about our independence, our ability to kind of stand on our own and accomplish something on our own, to again believe and have confidence that we can succeed in the things that we're interested in. And so with Libra highlight with this being a full moon, and it's a time of illumination or clarity around both Libra and Aries topics, I think in many ways we're going to be realizing if there are any pre-existing issues within our own self-worth and identity that can influence our decisions, that can make us feel uncertain, that can influence our relationships and make us maybe have pull back from relationships or have trust issues or whatever that looks like for us as individuals, or it could lead to elements of imbalance. So ultimately, Libra is a sign that is concerned with what is beautiful. It's ruled by Venus. And so I think it's trying to attract more beauty into our lives, more of a feeling of pleasure or enjoyment into our lives, especially with Venus in the sign of Pisces, which is definitely a sign that also can enjoy the rapture of life. Venus is currently, at the time of this full moon, stationed. Again, Venus rules over this moon, so it's really important. When it's stationed, that does have an influence on us in the sense that it's been moving retrograde. So all these issues around, what do I value? What's important to me? Where do I spend my money? How do I live my relationships? What direction should I go in my life? And is this something I really desire or not? Those are all questions that have been coming up for us this last month and a half. So now we're having a Libra full moon and Venus is stationing to go direct. We're having this moment of kind of transition, I guess, where we are now maybe coming to terms with some of those things that we thought about over this past Venus retrograde, where we are clarifying things in our life, and especially things that, again, concern things like relationships or money or the way that we, again, have beauty in our lives or balance in our lives or what we've been prioritizing in our lives. And so Venus stationed here, when it's stationed, it's basically just kind of slower than it normally is. It's imagine that it's sitting and it's shining a spotlight on something. So in many ways right now, this is a period of reflection and realization as Venus sits in the sky and refuses to move until we have some clarity come through for us. Especially because Venus is also making this beautiful sextile to Uranus, which is a planet of awakening. I think many of us will have periods of little awakenings right now where we are able to see something clearly that has maybe caused us suffering or that has stemmed from low confidence, inability to assert ourselves, inability to rely on ourselves or be independent, all these Aries wounds with Chiron there. So this Libra full moon is going to help us realize how Aries wounds have impacted our Libra things or Venus things that I've been mentioning, like relationships, money, what we desire, what we're prioritizing or valuing, beauty in our lives, how we might it's going to show us how we might settle for less in those areas because of the wounding with Aries. So I'm sorry, I'm like fighting with myself in my head. Okay, I want to talk about the cards, but there is more of the astrology that I want to get to. So I want to start off with, I have different piles of cards in this new deck, which I think is super cool. I think it's called the Gothic Mansion or something like that. So the first set of cards, I have the 10 of Wands, which is a card of suffering, basically. When we have the 10 of Wands, we feel a burden. And to me, this really highlights the Chiron in the chart. We also have the Queen of Pentacles, followed by the Devil in reverse. And a clarifier is a card, She Who Begins, Launch, Actualize, and Potential. So what does this mean to me? When I'm seeing this, I feel like this Chiron and Aries is really showing where we have held ourselves back from starting something, or from stabilizing something, from building something. There is this feeling here of recognizing where we have discounted ourselves, or where we have created, where we have moved from a place of insecurity rather than confidence and trust. And our advice actually for this moon is Six of Wands and the Empress, which is all about having a lot of confidence and feeling worthy of the attention that you get, the accolades that you get, the success that you get, and trusting that life will continue to bring that to you, that you don't have to overstress yourself. And this is something that Venus and in Pisces is really good at, and Libra as well, is this action of being able to receive, to collaborate, to ask for help from others, or lean a little bit more on others, and trust also in the process of life that we don't have to do everything ourselves all the time. And that can also kind of point to a wounding in Aries with Chiron there, where we can become hyper independent, where we can become isolated, or where we can feel like we have to do everything on our own in order to achieve some success, and that things have to be hard and all this. So I think that there's a lot of messaging here around having something finally feel like it's reaching a potential, or it's opening the door, or that spring is coming, that flowers are blooming, that something in our life that has felt like hasn't been moving forward, we're finally getting the sense that there is going to be some healing that allows something to have a breakthrough. The healing, though, only comes as a result of realizing that something is wrong. And so there is some pain associated with this full moon with Chiron on the sun. We can't realize that we've been holding ourselves back and have some type of, launch happen as a result of that breakthrough until we are presented with the circumstances that show us that we've been insecure and holding ourselves back in some way, or hyper independent, or whatever that looks like for us as individuals. It's going to be different for everybody, but I just really feel like we're going to notice now where we've been a little bit where we've been maybe waiting on the sidelines with this card here that says patience and waiting, where we maybe have just not fully launched something, not fully brought something to life in all the ways that we could have, or not fully trusted ourselves with something. It's going to look different for everyone as an individual. The next set of cards is a Tower and the Seven of Swords in reverse. To me, this is the awakening and the realization of how we have contributed, or how our insecurities or wounds have contributed to our kind of standstill type of energy. And we can see with this full moon that it's trying to ignite an action, a decision, and movement forward, because not only do we have Venus finally stationing direct, so after this full moon it's going to be moving direct, and we're finally going to have more momentum on our side, but also this full moon is making a square to Mars, which is in the sign of Cancer. So first of all, these are all cardinal signs: Aries, Libra, Cancer. And cardinal signs are about initiation and starting things. So with this full moon in a cardinal sign, and also squaring Mars, a planet of action and decision making, we are being propelled to commit to some kind of path, to get off our butts in some kind of way. If there's been something that you've been indecisive about or insecure about or uncertain about, and you've been in a period of waiting and pondering, this full moon is about getting you propelled to get up and moving again. So making that decision, going on that trip, making that commitment, taking the first steps, or if this is something that you're needing to finalize and put out into the world, then doing that. But again, we're going to have to face our own wounding as to why we haven't done this prior, why we haven't felt confident to just do it from the start. And so that is what the Chiron square Mars is really going to highlight for us. And I can see that with these next cards, with the Two of Swords and Four of Pentacles, a lot of us have been in a period of uncertainty. And I think it's because of a feeling of scarcity or fear of being hurt, needing to have walls up, needing to defend ourselves, protect ourselves. So for example, if this is a relationship that you wanted to move forward with something with, maybe you start to question yourself and you start to not share so vulnerably or not take certain emotional risks to that person because of the fear of moving forward. It's going to look different for everyone because it's going to be different circumstances for everyone. But there's just something in our life that we've really kind of held back with this. Four of Pentacles, you can see that there's a desire to just hold on to what you have now in a fear of investing into something or taking a risk with something. And this could be an emotional risk. This could be a financial risk. This could be just a risk within your career. It's going to look different for everyone. But there's this feeling of like, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to take that leap. I'm not going to take this chance. I'm just going to sit in a period of thinking about it and feeling uncertain. And that's what this full moon is trying to get us out of or propel us out of. One of the ways that I think it's going to do that is by having us surrender. Venus is in Pisces, which is the sign of surrender and of flow and of trust. And so I think a lot of ways that we are going to unchain ourselves from a period of overthinking and stagnation is going to come as a result of surrendering to what is, making peace with what is. And I think that this is something that Venus does really well when it's connected to Saturn. It's also here in the stellium with the North Node, Saturn, and Mercury, and a little bit of Neptune as well. So it's kind of got a lot of influence and it's hard to really piece them all apart. But Saturn is really good at it, just accepting the reality of a situation. And sometimes when we are in period of stagnation, we are fearful of the potential of a potential reality that could happen, basically. So I feel like what this full moon is trying to do is have us come to a place where we are accepting the risks that could potentially happen and looking at the full reality of a situation and owning that and making peace with that. That there are going to be ups and downs, that there are going to be things that can happen that are misfortunate and also blessings. So I really feel like we're coming into a place of surrendering to the reality that is going to empower us to finally move forward. And I can see this kind of progress that we're going to have with this Seven of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune. I feel like we're going to go from a period of considering all these different ideas and options and feeling like we're at the drawing board and again, kind of overthinking things, maybe idealizing certain things, and then not looking at certain things clearly enough. We're going to come from that kind of confusing place to the Wheel of Fortune, which is somebody who is starting to have a change of fate, who's turning the karma in their interest. So we're coming intentionally out of a phase of confusion and we are transforming the quality of our mind into something that is more useful to us, that's something that's more healthy for us, something that we can do something with, which is what a full moon in a cardinal sign wants. It wants action, it wants decision, and Libra in particular does waffle, but with this square with Mars, it's kind of forcing your hand. And in a way, with Mars being in Cancer, it's forcing your hand to make a decision according to your intuition, your gut instincts, and your emotion at the end of the day. Okay. So the last card that I have here is the mindfulness card. She who emerges, enlightenment, and rise up. So really, part of the advice here that we have is to have confidence and trust And I think a lot of this comes from enlightenment, which is this Venus and Pisces energy, North Node in Pisces, this whole stellium in Pisces, which is all about having a deeper spiritual connection, realizing that you can trust in the universe, realizing the interconnectedness to everything, becoming more mindful in your day-to-day life so that the actions that you take can align more with where you're desiring to go. It's like you don't have to feel alone with this Chiron and Aries. You don't have to feel like you're doing it all on your own, that all the weight is on your shoulders. And if you mess up, then you're bad, and whatever that means about you and your self-concept. Venus in Pisces wants to take us to a more elevated perspective. It wants us to realize that we are all interconnected and that we're influenced by the world and the current times and the universe. And we have a connection to spirit that can help guide us. And that sometimes things will be out of our hands, but other times there are going to be influences that support us that are also out of our hands. So just kind of this connection, I guess, is something bigger than you, can take some of that pressure off from whatever can arise with Chiron being in Aries, where we can get a little in our heads. So that is what I'm seeing for the overview for this Libra full moon. I think, again, it's a time to empower ourselves to make a decision to deal with any discomfort or insecurity, let go of any limiting beliefs that we have been keeping us in a moment of stasis. It is time to launch ourselves, to try something, to take a risk with something, and to have faith that the universe can support us along the way, that it's not all on us. So let's go ahead and dive into what this is going to look like for all of the rising and sun signs. And then if you enjoy this, don't forget to also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. And of course, if you want a reading from me, you can always check that out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I always link in my description box down below. All right. See you in the forecast for all the signs. All right, up first we have Aries rising and sun. For you guys, this Libra full moon on the 12th is pointing to a need to have a realization of how important it is to let other people in, to rely more on relationships, and to put the focus back into the idea of sharing and collaborating and compromising. My Aries risings, this full moon is in your 7th house of partnership, and it's opposing both the sun and Chiron in your 1st house. So there is some kind of wounding around the Aries sense of individuality, autonomy, freedom, and the self that is influencing and creating a blockage for in between your ability to connect and rely on others in relationships. So I pulled some cards that I have kind of asked questions about. One is, what is something that you need to decide or move forward that you've been stagnant with? And that for you is relationships. And I'll talk about the cards in a second. Then I have what has been causing this, and then advice. So we're going to talk about all of this. The reason why this full moon feels like a pivotal time of making a decision is because not only is it in a cardinal sign, but it's also squaring your Mars in Cancer in your 4th house. So there is also this focus and this energy that is saying that your emotional center and your sense of well-being and your sense of security, they are going to be more fulfilled when you decide to bring other people in, when you decide to collaborate or work with someone or sign that contract with someone. There's this sense of needing to rely on other people and needing to create a little bit more of like true companionship or true sense of belonging. And so that Mars in the 4th can point to needing to make that decision and to get outside of your comfort zone as well here, where it might feel easy to kind of sit back and stay in a period of kind of stasis where you're able to be alone and rely on yourself, which is more comfortable for Aries. So let's talk about the cards and then we'll get into the rest of the astrology. So I start off with the 4 of Pentacles, the Lovers upright, and the 3 of Cups in reverse. So this to me is definitely indicating that you guys are in a period right now, because this is the decision that you need to make. You need to decide basically to leave this period of time where you are holding your cards close to your chest, where you are defending yourself, where you are promoting, security through isolation, or security by not taking an emotional risk, or by not leaning on other people in some way. That's the Four of Pentacles. And the Lovers is needing to decide that you want to celebrate with people, that you want to have more community, that you want to enter into a relationship, that you want a partner, whatever that looks like. It's going to be different for everybody. But there's something here with the Three of Cups in reverse that I think you've been closed off to, this feeling of connection with others or relying on others. It's going to, again, look different for everybody, how exactly that manifests. But there's just something here where you guys have so much to celebrate and so much to bring together, or so much strength through numbers, but I feel like you're not really leaning into it as much as you could. Your advice for this, or clarifier, I should say, is she who listens, understanding, witness, and compassion. So maybe it's that you're not listening to other people enough, or that you are not having compassion enough for the outside experience. It could also mean that you're not having enough compassion for the wounded part of yourself with this full moon involving Chiron in Aries, where you have maybe some fears around opening up, or again, wounds around opening up from the past. And maybe you need to have compassion and understanding for that side of yourself in order to open up to a more vulnerable space. Venus is the ruler of this full moon, and it's in the 12th house with Saturn. So there is this element here of the past really playing a strong role in the decisions that you're making right now. The insecurities that have driven you into maybe, again, isolation or hyper independence is largely from issues surrounding your past, especially around things that have felt like maybe they were out of your control. And we can see that here with the Three of Pentacles and Tower in reverse. And this is kind of what caused you to stagnate. And these cards are really speaking to situations that could have felt like the rug got pulled out from under you. Somebody that you were working with, that you were collaborating with, that you were relying on, that you were in a relationship with, friendship with, family with, that person let you down or sabotaged you or just wasn't there for you. There's some element here of things feeling outside of your control, things feeling overwhelming, the rug being ripped out from under you. That's a Tower moment, and it can make us feel very vulnerable to the point where we don't feel safe relying on other people in the same way. The clarifiers for what's holding you back is this aloneness card, which again makes a lot of sense. You're used to being alone, doing things on your own, spending time alone. There's not anything wrong with that, but when it's coming from a wounded place, there is. The other card is she who is wild, untamed, wild, and mysterious. And I think that this is exactly it. There's something uncontrollable, that there's something about the mystery of a relationship, the mystery of what could happen or what somebody could do to you, and that position of vulnerability that you put yourself in when you rely on someone. That is what is holding you back from a mental and emotional level. And Venus and Saturn together, of course, is about the past, but it also is about longevity and duration. So there's something here about this decision where if you can make it and commit to wanting to lean more on others, that it's okay if it takes its time in emerging, that you don't need to jump straight into this and it be very dramatic, but it's something that can take its time and also last the test of time. So your advice cards, we're going to start off with, there's two separate piles for these. We have the King of Wands in reverse, Nine of Cups upright. Really, I feel like this is kind of getting off your high horse. The King of Wands to me is somebody who's really in a position of power. They are somebody who is a leader, or they have a lot of confidence. They have a lot of vitality, a lot of energy. There's something about them where they might have the upper hand, or they just are in a place where they are really comfortable, where they have control. And I feel like this is saying to kind of get off that high horse, get off this position of power, and put yourself in a position where you might be a little bit more vulnerable, where you might not be as comfortable, where you might have to, put yourself out there in a way that feels scary for you, and maybe go into an environment that you're not used to or as comfortable with. And in order to, by doing this, you are actually going to encounter the Nine of Cups, which is the thing that you really truly desire. So if you want a partnership, maybe you have to go to that meetup group or something that feels a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but ultimately challenges you to get the thing that you desire. So follow your heart to the desire and get off of that pedestal or that place of comfort, that place of power where you feel really safe and really in your element, and put yourself in a different situation that will challenge you to actually open you up to what you want. The other element here of your advice is the Five of Pentacles and Four of Swords. I really feel like this kind of has two different things. I think part of the advice here is to, especially with this other card, she who sees, observe, and scrutinize. I feel like what this card is saying is that it's important for you, especially with observe and then the Four of Swords, which has that same element of reflection. You might need to look back with this Five of Pentacles on the times when you have felt like there is something lacking. Maybe something lacking within the self or lacking within certain relationships that you've entered into. And it's almost like part of your advice here is to acknowledge or observe yourself in these situations or these past relationships and acknowledge your part in it and kind of where that was coming from. Like, where is this feeling of lack coming from? What can I do to work on that? What can I do to not make decisions from that place of maybe fear or insecurity or unworthiness? Or maybe I entered into a relationship that really didn't meet my needs. Why did I do that? Where was that coming from? So I feel like part of your advice here is to go through past circumstances and really self-reflect on this Chiron and Aries element with the sun here, which is about illuminating and clarifying where this wound is and how that has perpetuated periods of unnecessary isolation and hyper independence. And then the other element of this could also be, once you've done that, let's not focus on the negative happening again. Let's focus on the Nine of Cups, which is what you desire. So instead of focusing on the wounding after you've done the self-analysis, let's then try to go into a period of manifestation and this kind of focus and clarity of what it is that you actually desire, rather than kind of seeing a repeating, like projecting the past onto your future, essentially. You don't want to do that. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aries. I hope that this resonates for you or is helpful for you. If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Taurus rising and sun. This Libra full moon happening on April 12th is taking place in your 6th house. So one of the things that I feel like is really coming up for all of us is needing to make some kind of decision. And this really came up in the cards a lot for you guys, is this period of kind of rumination and needing to get clear on something. And I really feel like this is going to center around 6th house topics, which is likely some kind of existing obligation that you are responsible for, or the management of your own kind of health and routine. But I think for most of you, it will be something like work related, or again, some type of responsibility that takes your time. So one of the things that is particularly uncomfortable about this full moon is that Chiron is opposite the moon, conjunct the sun right now in Aries. So Chiron in Aries really illustrates where we have some type of wounding that we need to work through in order to clarify how to move forward. This moon also makes a square to Mars in your 3rd house of the mind and of the decisions that we make and how we communicate them. So you guys might be going through a period of rumination and uncertainty within yourself, where you may feel at certain periods not as empowered to communicate a hard decision, or like, for example, if you want to stop working on a certain responsibility, if you want more pay, if you want things to be like, if you want to end something or change something within the workplace in the dynamic that you have with other people or what you're responsible for, I feel like this is causing you a little bit of pain and discomfort, and it's making you indecisive. And it's coming from a place of maybe fear of, I don't want to rock the boat or have X, Y, and Z kind of issues. And Venus is in Pisces, so there is a little bit more of this kind of passivity that we can have, especially when it comes to disrupting things or hurting people or making people uncomfortable as a result of us wanting to do something different. So let me talk about the cards that I pulled, and then I'll weave in the astrology as we move along. So for each group, I'm breaking down the cards into 3 sections. One is a period or place in your life, or what is basically not moving forward, where you need to make a decision about something. And then the other pile is why. Why are you stagnating here? What's causing that? And then advice. So we start off with the Seven of Cups and Four of Swords, Page of Cups reverse, and Queen of Wands. So these cards, the first two, Seven of Cups, Four of Swords, this speaks to Mars being squared by this full moon in your 3rd house. Mars is a planet of action and decision making, but it's squaring Chiron, and there is this element here of feeling uncertain or going into periods of self-doubt or insecurity or overthinking things or being scared. And I think that this speaks to this a lot, where you have a lot of ideas and you're not really allowing yourself to pin anything down. You're in a period of reflection and contemplation. You're thinking of all these different possibilities, all these different ways that something can go, but you're not committing to a certain choice or decision because of that fear or wounding or insecurity. With the Page of Cups in reverse and Queen of Wands, this is something that you're not trusting your intuition with the Page of Cups in reverse. You've had a gut instinct about this for a while. Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is conjunct Saturn, and there does have some element here of this being a long-standing issue or something from the past carrying forward, or something that is going to take time for it to really work out. So this is not an immediate thing that came out of nowhere. This is something that you've been feeling, that you've been having, some kind of instinct that I really think I need to move on from this chapter. Maybe I need to leave the PTA or whatever you are doing. Maybe I need to transition jobs. Maybe I need to ask for more money because I really feel like I'm not being valued. And with this Page of Cups in reverse, I feel like that niggling has not been fully honored. What you guys are needing to do with this Queen of Wands is come into a space where you are listening to yourself. You're listening to your sense of confidence around your own leadership powers, around your own worthiness. The Queen of Wands is somebody who is extremely creative. They're very bright. They have a lot of magnetic kind of energy, and they own it. They know that they're good at things. They know that they're a leader. They know that they have attractive qualities, and they kind of ask for what they deserve because of that sense of self-worth. So there's some area of your life, I think, again, maybe work related, where you guys might need to take up more space, or you guys might need to ask for more, or you might need to believe more in yourself. There's some element here of being brighter, listening to yourself about how much more you're capable of. So that's what you've been stagnating with. You've been really overthinking it. And I think it's come from a really stubborn place. As a fixed sign, you do have a very kind of stubborn mindset at times. So I pulled the She Who Stands, Resolute, Implacable, Determined card. She Who Forgives, Remorse, Guilt, and Forgiveness. So to me, what this is saying is that you have been a little bit fixed in your mindset when it comes to some type of guilt that you might feel. Like if you're asking for more money, you might feel guilty. If you are trying to leave a job, you might feel guilty. If you're trying to take on less responsibility with something and do more of something that you want to do for yourself, you might feel guilty. There's something here of like, I'm feeling bad about it, but that's what's holding you back, as you're viewing it from this point of view that it's maybe selfish or that it's wrong. And that can also be very much a Chiron and an Aries wound, where when I do something for myself, it's bad. So that might be something that you have to kind of work through during this period of time. So I also asked the cards, what are you, or ask Spirit, what are you, like, what's holding you back? And I got the 10 of Swords and 3 of Pentacles. So some of you guys are just really digging your heels in and refusing to participate and initiate an inevitable ending of some sort, especially when it comes to some kind of collaborative effort. If it's working with somebody or being responsible for something for somebody else, or just, again, just some kind of collaboration. I really feel like you guys are resisting some type of end in that area of your life. So maybe it's, again, an ending to your current position. Maybe you want to up level, or maybe you want more pay and it's an end to your current pay, or maybe you want to literally leave what you're doing at work. And it doesn't just have to be work, but it could be any kind of level of commitment that you have to something that you are wanting to end or transition out of that phase of your life. And I feel like you guys have been you've been resisting it. Basically, that's what's holding you back, is a fear of, is this stabbing someone in the back? Is this a betrayal? Is this going to let someone down? Do I really want to go through this? Do I really want to declare this or make this change or end this thing? And another thing that's holding you back is a sacred rage. So there might be unexpressed emotions where you have been subservient, where you have been paid less than you deserve, undervalued, where you've been doing more work than somebody else, where it feels like things haven't been fair, where they haven't been balanced. And I can see that with this advice card. With the Six of Pentacles in reverse and Sun upright, you guys are needing to come into a place of feeling really confident and positive that you deserve more, that you, if you're in a period of being unemployed, or if you've, again, underpaid, or if somebody has been greedy with you and making you do more work than your share. There's something here where it's like things haven't been fair, and with the Sun, it's time to shine light on it. It's time to be hopeful that it can be changed and address it head on and make it clear, make it known, vouch for yourself, and express that frustration or rage or whatever it is that you feel around the situation, because it's only going to continue to perpetuate this circumstance without that. Venus, again, is in Pisces, which is in your 11th house, and Venus rules over this moon. So there is kind of a propensity towards passivity, but Venus conjunct the North Node, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Mercury, is a little bit more empowered here to express its emotional side, to say how it feels about something and shine light again on something. So you guys are really encouraged to do that at this time. I think that with this, the other advice card, She Who Is Wild, part of what you're meant to do is cause some kind of disruption, because the current status quo isn't fair for you, and there's no way that it's going to resolve itself, and it might even be unfair for other people too. So it's not going to resolve itself on its own, and you need to say something to disrupt the status quo, and that might also fix things and benefit others in the future as well. Your other advice cards are Six of Cups and the Empress. I think it would be really worthwhile at this time to be examining your history and your relationship with the feeling of receiving, with the feeling of abundance. And, Libra is very much a sign of collaboration, of support, of doing things together, of things being fair, of things being diplomatic. And this is in your 6th house, which is the house where things tend to be unfair, where one person does a lot more work, where things are, skewed towards, historically, for example, slavery or some kind of inequality. So there is some healing that needs to happen here with the Six of Pentacles and the Empress card, where you feel like you are also supported. A Taurus thing is often, I have to do it alone. All this work is falling on my shoulders. No one's doing as much as me. These are kind of core wounds or beliefs that can follow you from childhood. So explore your relationship with your ability to receive, to be supported, for things to be fair. And that can be really helpful for you, especially when you look at your parents and how their dynamic was. So that's really what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. I really hope that this is helpful for you. It's time to get out of a period of, wavering. Is this the right decision or not? Should I speak up or not? Yes, speak up, disrupt, ask for what you deserve, and have fairness in this area of responsibility for you. So if this resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Gemini rising and sun. This Libra full moon on April 12th is happening in your 5th house. So what is this full moon going to bring? I feel like this one is a little bit more challenging because the sun is conjunct Chiron, opposing the moon. So the fifth house is often about children or things that we love, things that we desire, and sometimes even connections or romantic relationships, travel, so many things. The fifth house is kind of a catch-all. So there's something in regards to those areas of your life where you may have felt inhibited with Chiron being opposite the moon. Maybe it feels like certain things aren't working out for you. Maybe you feel like socially you're a bit disconnected. Maybe you're having trouble dating or trouble manifesting something you desire, having issues with your children. And it's coming from a place of insecurity with Chiron being on the sun in Aries. So we're going to get into all of what this means, but a lot of this actually comes from a place of needing to make a decision, especially when it comes to your finances or the way that you make money or the way that you manage money or spend money, the things that you own. And that's because this full moon is squaring Mars in the second house. So I'm going to tie this all in together. That might not totally make complete sense right now, but it'll make sense when I have all the cards for you guys. So let's talk about the cards and then I'll weave in the astrology. So I broke this up into 3 groups. One is, what are you stagnating with or needing to make a decision on? And that is represented by this full moon squaring Mars in your second house. Then we asked, what is this going to, or what was holding you back to begin with? And then advice. So we start off with the 8 of Swords in reverse. This is a card about timing. This means something not moving fast enough. It could mean also putting your energy into too many different things and scattering it so that you aren't able to focus. This card can also indicate that it's just the wrong timing for something, that maybe you're coming back from vacation, or maybe you had an injury, or maybe there was astrologically something going on that made something not a good time. So there's something here around timing being something holding you back or keeping you from making a decision. So part of your experience with this is going to be, of course, personal. And I think part of it is also going to be impersonal, in the sense that you are not completely holding yourself back, that there might be elements of the universe also kind of trying to shift and put you into the right divine timeline for whatever it is that you want. So there is that impersonal aspect of timing not really being accurate or the right moment. We also, the Knight of Pentacles. This is somebody who moves really slowly, and that could feed off of this 8 of Wands in reverse. If you are moving slowly and then you also have the Knight of Pentacles, it could be that you're kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something that you really want, but at the end of the day, you are, again, insecure or intimidated about it in some fashion. And it's something that you are being very cautious with, you know, very secure with, like, I'm going to just take it one tiny little step at a time, and I'm not going to take an unnecessary risk. There's something here with that where, especially financially, you guys, that might be something that's holding you back. Especially, again, this full moon is squaring Mars, the second house of finances. And when I asked Spirit, what's holding you back, I got the 8 of Swords and King of Pentacles. This is somebody who has financial anxiety, who maybe doesn't want to take a huge financial risk, who doesn't want to buy that thing or spend that thing or try to make money in this new way because it feels anxious for them. Maybe it's a really big investment. Maybe it's something that you've been, you know, this thinking like this should take more time. But there's something here around, you know, self-worth or finances that you're really getting in your own head about and overthinking about, and not realizing that this can actually work out for you. And I feel like it's creating this like over cautiousness, which is interesting, because I do think that when Uranus moves into Gemini, a lot of that is going to change, and there's going to be a lot more of maybe a shift in values that creates a little bit more of this speed. But with Uranus currently in Taurus and Jupiter in your sign, you know, Jupiter, you would think that it would get things moving. But anyway, So yeah, I feel like you've been just overly cautious, overly slow. Maybe the timing hasn't really been the best because maybe some things have popped up here and there. Maybe you had to go home for something, or something broke, or whatever this is. There's this feeling of like kind of missing the mark in terms of timing and things taking a long time. So again, some of this is in your control and self-perpetuated, and some of this is out of your control. Then we also have Seven of Cups upright and Four of Wands in reverse. So I feel like because this has been taking so long, and because maybe there have been these hurdles that the universe has put in your way to kind of slow you down as well, I think that you guys have been really going into a period of overthinking things and starting to doubt things, where you feel confused. Like, do I even want this? Is this even the right path for me? Should I go in a different direction? Is this even meant for me? Is this going to even happen ever? And so I feel like the universe kind of slowing down your timeline was meant to align you with some perfect moment. And again, I think things are really going to speed up later on in the year, in the summer. I believe is when Uranus is going to move into Gemini. I think life will get really, really fast then. But because it's not fast right now, I think that you guys are coming into a period of like, I don't know. And that's not what the universe is intending. I think that they're trying to make, or the universe is trying to make it so that you are hitting things at the right time in your life. But it's not supposed to create, it's not supposed to like remove that path altogether. We also have the Four of Wands in reverse. So this card has a lot of different meanings. For some people, it can indicate the Four of Wands can be like a happy home or a home. So some of you guys could have something going on with your family or with your physical home that has kind of like thwarted you in some way. But this could also indicate where you're not moving forward. Maybe there's something in regards to like a celebration, a wedding, buying a home, again, getting married, or something like that you could going to see your family, or having a family, or reaching out to your community and having more of like support from friends. Yeah, there's just something here where I feel like you guys haven't fully, you're holding yourself back in some way in regards to this. This card can also indicate a feeling of instability as well. So there might be this self-doubt coming from feeling like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to put myself in a place in my life where I feel a little bit at risk or unstable. And Chiron and Aries, which is again opposing this moon, Chiron and Aries is fearful of the risk. It's fearful of, what if I do this? It's going to hurt me in XYZ kind of way. And again, I feel like for many of you, this is very much centered around finances or like self-worth. Like, what if I put money into this and it doesn't amount to anything? Then I'm a failure, or whatever this is. So there's something here where you guys are really held back by your almost like a lack mentality, or just maybe not lack necessarily, but like a fear of, if I invest in this, if I put my stamp of approval on this, if I move towards this and put my time into this, what if it doesn't manifest? What if I can't get what I want? What if I'm not good enough? What if it doesn't happen? What if this risk ends up hurting me? And there's a lot of that fear of like, what if I become unstable? And again, the Seven of Cups, overthinking of all the scenarios that can kind of go wrong. And yeah, I can see here, like, I asked Spirit, like, what are you stagnating with? And it literally says, she who hesitates, delay, ponder, and confidence. So you're literally in a period right now where you are not confident enough to act, where you are delaying, where you are pondering and overthinking and hesitating something. So that's really what I see. I feel like very much a period of hesitation and overthinking, especially around financial investments or around something that you really want to do. If this is a trip, for example, and you're like, oh, I can't afford that trip. Oh, I can't afford to go on that date, or I can't afford to go, do this training that I want to do, or buy this house that I want to buy, or have my dream wedding. It's going to look different for all of you, but there's something here where you're almost like shutting yourself off from the desire, because of the fear of what would happen if you invest that and you lose it or something. So your advice, what is your advice? We have the Eight of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. The first thing that I saw with the Eight of Pentacles was, you need to learn more. So this is going to hit different for different people in terms of what that means. But the Eight of Pentacles is a card of skill development or of acquiring more knowledge. So some of you guys need to learn more about the subject that you're wanting to invest into. So maybe you just are fearful because you don't have all your ducks in a row. You don't have it all planned. Or maybe the thing that you're scared to invest in is actually going to help you learn more. And that is encouraging you to actually go and do that thing because you're going to be able to acquire more knowledge there. With the Ace of Cups, this is saying that it's going to be something that fulfills you. So whatever this is, it wants you to be driven by your heart, to listen to your heart, to listen to things that emotionally excite you, that get you up in the morning. So there's something here where it's okay to take some kind of to make some kind of financial commitment in order to follow your heart and improve your life and have this really beautiful addition to your life and potentially even learn more in that scenario or along the way to that journey. We also have the She Who Knows, wisdom, clarity, and resolution. So the ruler of this full moon is Venus, and Venus is in Pisces. It's stationed next to Saturn. It's in your 10th house. This is a very future-oriented, goal-oriented Venus. It sees the direction it wants to go in, and it knows with its whole heart and its intuition or its third eye that this is the right direction to go in. So there's something here where you already know. You already have the wisdom. You already have the clarity of what you want, but you're coming into a phase of like doubting yourself. And this full moon is about making some kind of financial commitment or material commitment in order to move that path forward and not continue to doubt, basically. We also have light, serenity, and beacon. So this card is really about having hope and looking at the goal that you're going towards. Keep your eyes focused on that goal and not so much on the lack or the whatever in between. So yeah, I feel like this full moon ultimately wants you to think about the solutions to the problem. With Chiron and Aries, there can be a fear of action, a fear of risk taking, especially financially, and it can make you overthink and look at the potential problems. That is beneficial because we do have Eight of Pentacles, which is about really making sure that you are skilled, that you are developed, that you are learned. And I think that if you lack knowledge about something, you might need to gain that. However, this full moon is about seeking problems seeking solutions to the problems rather than looking for what can go wrong and sitting there. So it's a time about getting clear on what you want. I already think you do know what you want, but it's confirming that with the universe with your action and following, like putting your money where your mouth is. That is how I'm going to end this because that I feel like summarizes everything. That's what I see for you, Gemini. If this resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Cancer, rising, and sun. This Libra full moon happening on April 12th is taking place in your 4th house with the sun opposite in Aries, conjunct Chiron in your 10th house. So we are all going through a little bit of a period of overthinking something, of some area of our life stagnating, of holding ourselves back in some way because of this Chiron wounding. And we're going to talk about what this all means with the cards as I have them laid out here. So this is a very significant full moon for you guys because it's happening in the cardinal signs, which means it's in your these I'm just blanking on the word, but they're in your the signs, the houses, the 4th and 10th houses that are much more influential in our life, much more personal. On top of that, they are squaring Mars in your 1st house. So there's some kind of decision that we all need to make. For you, this is a decision about the self. Ultimately, it's something that's a little bit more, again, personal about the way that you view yourself or the way that you've been living your life. that is going to influence your sense of emotional security, your feeling of stability, of emotional fulfillment, maybe even where you live, influence your home, influence your family, all those things. So let's get into the cards because it's going to be a little bit more, it's going to make more sense when we do that. So I've pulled 3 separate piles. One is for what is the area that is stagnating? What do you need to make a decision about? One is why you are stagnating or needing to make a decision. Where's the wounding that's holding you back coming from? And then advice on how to navigate the situation. So we start off with the Hanged Man in reverse. So the Hanged Man, when it's upright, is somebody who is coming into a period of being able to change their perspective really easily and really well. Maybe something has happened in their life that they are able to recover from and see that there are, like have clarity, I guess, around recover from something and have clarity around like why that happened and how to get out of it. So the Hangman in reverse to me feels like somebody who is more of in a period of detachment around a situation. They might be allowing themselves to stagnate, allowing themselves to be apathetic around a situation in their life. Like they're not trying to better that area of their life. They're not trying to bring awareness and do all this stuff around it. They're kind of just living, and they might even be somehow like living in a negative pattern and not bringing the light to that situation. So there's something here around not even trying to have full awareness of something. This could have been, for example, if you went through a breakup, let's just say, the Hangman in reverse is like, I'm not trying to do all this inner work around that relationship and what happened and how to get better. I'm just like doing my thing. And I like don't even care. And that there's also a time and place for that. I don't think that's an issue, but there's something here where you're not actually fully moving on from something or fully moving forward with something because it might not be fully addressed, or you might not have gained the perspective that you need to gain from that situation yet, which is again fine. And I think that for many of you, this could be as a result with the 3 of Cups of some kind of relationship stuff. With this card in reverse, there could have been some issues with people in your life, anyone really. And maybe it's something that you haven't quite moved on from. Again, with this Death card in reverse, if there's been issues from past relationships, maybe even a long time ago, but it's something that hasn't been fully, like it hasn't shifted you as much as it could have yet. There could be some element of that past still lingering because there's something that still wants to be opened up in terms of your perspective. After that, we have the Magician card. So this card is a lot around being able to see how we are very much in control of certain elements of our life, that we have a hand in the future or the fate of our life, that we're in the driver's seat. And so there's something here about this where you guys are maybe not fully realizing, I guess, like the next steps that you want to take. And this could be, for example, if you did have a breakup, if you haven't had these aha moments yet, maybe you're not ready already to move on. Maybe you're not quite in that manifestation period yet. Or maybe you are, but there's still some things holding you back from that. And it's almost like you need to, with this Magician card, empower the self. And I feel like a full moon square Mars in the first house is a lot about empowering yourself to decide, to commit to something, to feel like you are worthy of something, to do the awakening or the realizations around those past experiences so that you don't carry them forward with you. So there's something here about deciding that you are going to view yourself or your relationships or the way that you live your life differently in order to be able to manifest the kind of life that you really desire and not just kind of repeat a negative pattern again. So this could really apply to any area of your life, but again, it's really going to especially be emphasized around your past, your home, your family, your emotional patterns. I think a lot of it's going to be like emotional fulfillment and emotional patterns, what you turn to in those times. There might be some just a repeating pattern happening here, and it's important to go through, go through the steps in order to gain perspective, and again, not carry those patterns unconsciously with you forward. So with Chiron opposite the moon, part of what's perpetuating a period of being maybe stuck in an emotional pattern, or having some kind of walls up as well, because moon in the fourth house can also be like having our defenses up or holding ourselves back at times, not feeling like we can put ourselves out there or take certain chances. That very much can be a full moon in the fourth house. So Chiron opposite it is showing that there's some kind of wounding from the past, or insecurity or fear, or hyper independence or whatever, that can be causing this to happen, where we feel like, oh, I'm just going to stay home. Like, I don't want to go put myself out there for another relationship because I don't want to go through that again. And it's like you put these walls up. And so where is this coming from? Where is this wounding? Well, part of it is the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is a card that talks about somebody who is really vigilant. They're really using their mind to look for all the clues that somebody is something like that. You can't necessarily trust someone. So there's something here with the Page of Swords where you could be overly relying on logic, maybe reading into something, like using your mind too much, being too much in your own head, and not in a way that's like, oh, I'm so anxious about this, but in a way that you might be just coming from, like, maybe some of what you need to sort through is a little bit more emotional, and being super in the mind is not necessarily going to get you that same result. So maybe you need to cry. Maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to move your body or talk to a therapist and have somatic therapy, for example. There's something around this where it's like, let's not intellectualize it. Let's process it a little bit more in the other senses. The other way that you are being held back is by not walking away from something, or you've walked away from something, but you haven't fully left that situation on an emotional level. It's like a ghost lingering around, and that person or that energy is kind of carrying itself with you. So part of what you need to do right now with a full moon in the fourth house is to make peace with your emotional history and to free yourself from it, and to empower yourself then to make some kind of decision to overcome it, or to live your life differently, or to put yourself out there more, or to change something about your self-concept, or again, your lifestyle, that will prove to yourself that you're no longer carrying that emotional past or baggage or ghost with you in your current reality. So what's your advice for this situation? Well, we have she who is wild and untamed and mysterious. I think part of your advice is to free yourself. I think that having something be wild or untamed is to have something be completely liberated and free to do what it wants to do. And I feel like part of your emotional past is kind of keeping you in chains or in jail, where you're a little bit locked up, or you're a little bit defensive or cloistered, or you're not going out as much, or you're scared it's going to repeat, or whatever this is. There's something about this where it's like you're maybe not fully out in the world and fully liberated on all the ways because of the past carrying forward with you. So your other advice, we have the High Priestess, the Sun, and the Knight of Swords. So starting off with the High Priestess, I think that you guys really need to trust your own intuition. The ruler of this moon is Venus, and Venus is in Pisces in the 9th, along with Saturn, Mercury, the North Node. This is all about really being a student of the divine. This means listening to the signs, listening to your intuition about something, not thinking about it so much. This could be going through a practice of meditation, of prayer, moving meditation, again, through walking in nature. There's something here, it's like connecting more with your inner divine nature as well as just the divine in general, and using that as a tool to help you recover and release some of the maybe baggage or energy that you're kind of carrying with you. We also have the Sun card. This is somebody who is willing to look at their future optimistically. And this is going to be really important, especially with the Sun and Chiron conjunct in the 10th house. There can be sometimes a fear around the future. I'm scared I'm going to encounter this again, or I'm scared I'm never going to meet this person, or I'm scared I'm never going to achieve X, Y, and Z in my life. And this card really wants you to focus on the good that is coming in. Along with the Knight of Swords, this is somebody who is very, very fast. They are not sitting around and waiting for life to happen. They are mobilizing things. So this is a time of action. And this doesn't, I don't see this in the same way with the Page of Swords where you're supposed to be in your mind as much. Yes, you can make a decision to put yourself out there in X, Y, and Z, but I feel like this is about the action of it rather than the thinking about it. So the Knight of Swords to me is you, if like, let's just go with the breakup analogy, even though that doesn't have to be the case. Let's say you did go through a breakup. The Knight of Swords here could be you going to a mixer, or going to try to meet new friends, or starting that art class that you've always wanted to start, or going on that hike that you haven't done before that you said that you would do with your partner but never did. There's something here where it's like, do those things that make you feel good. Do those things that move your life forward. Do those things that advance you. And with Mars in your sign in Cancer, it is a period of action. Don't overthink. Don't doubt. Don't, I don't know. This is a period of just let me go out and do. And then a lot will actually come as a result of just acting quickly. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. If that resonates with you, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Leo rising and sun. This Libra full moon is happening on April 12th in your 3rd house. It is opposite Chiron and the sun in the 9th house in Aries. So this is one where I feel like we're going to have some kind of shift in perspective, especially with this happening in your 3rd house of the mind. I think for many of us, we need to come to a new conclusion, or we need to make a decision around something. And I can really see that with this full moon squaring Mars in the 12th house for you. However, what has been preventing us from making this decision is Chiron and Aries, this fear or this wounding or insecurity that has contributed to false beliefs. For you, I think this has a lot to do with rest. Let's go ahead and talk about the cards that I have, and I'll explain and tie in all this with the astrology. So I broke up the cards into 3 piles. One is, what area of your life do you need to make a decision around, or that you are stagnating with, not moving forward with? Why? Where is that insecurity, fear, or wounding coming from that's propelling that stagnation, or perpetuating it, I should say? And then what's your advice? So we start off with the 10 of Wands. This is a card of exhaustion, and I find it interesting that this full moon is in the 3rd house, which is one of the busiest, most movement-oriented houses that we have. So I really feel like you guys have been maybe overstimulated. You've had a lot on your plate. Maybe you've tried to accomplish a lot. Maybe you've been here and there. But there's this feeling of maybe having, just being overcommitted, having too much on your plate. And I feel like it's led you to a phase of life, which is funny. Everybody's had this card come out with the 7 of Cups, which is feeling like a little bit all over the place. Like your energy is quite diffuse. Your mind is not really centered and focused on like one specific thing. This might feel like you are considering a lot of options or paths for your life, or you might feel like you are in a period where you're working hard, but you also don't know exactly where you're going. Or maybe you just have a lot of things that you're interested in and you're spreading yourself too thin. There's just something here where it's like you're not on a mission necessarily right now, and that could have to deal with the fact that Mars, the planet of mission, is in your 12th house, which is an invisible house. It's not it's not really something that you can use right now to have a clear sense of direction and make decisions to move forward. It's almost like you need to be going through a period of rest and reflection, because you're not really in a phase of your life where until Mars emerges in your 1st house, which should be soon. Let me see. when that is going to be for you guys. Just give me a sec. So Mars will emerge in Leo later on in April. So April 18th. So that is probably when you're going to start having more energy. But between now and then, you guys are going to be needing to rest and reflect because you've been doing a lot, but it feels like there's not good output. It's almost like somebody who is in their car and they're revving their engine, or they're stuck in mud and they're revving their engine trying to get forward, move out of the snow or out of the mud, and their tires are just spinning. That's the kind of energy I see this, where you're doing a lot, but it's almost like you're not concentrated and effective. And that's part of what is stagnating, and you need to make decisions around this. And we'll talk about that in a second, like what that decision is in a second. You have the King of Wands in reverse. So part of what's contributing to this current energy is that you literally are lacking vitality. With Mars being, our energy battery along with the sun, and it being in your 12th house. Yeah, I think that you guys might not be as motivated, or you might be doing a lot, but you're like pulling from an empty well. This card can also speak about feeling like you have to keep going. And this doesn't always mean that you are actually wanting to do those things, but it's almost like driven by a fear of being unreliable or being inconsistent, or just a fear of like, oh, I have to keep going. I have to keep producing, because if I don't, then I'm X, Y, and Z. And so I feel like that's part of what's driving you, is almost like just pushing yourself too far and not actually producing really great results by doing that. And the other card around what you need to decide around and what you're stagnating with is the Knight of Pentacles. This is a card of somebody taking things step by step, slowly. They have a specific focus. They know where they're going. But I feel like you guys are fearful of this, or you are not at this stage yet. You might feel like, oh, that's too slow if I do it like that. I have to push really hard. I have to do it all at once. Or you might feel like I can't just focus on one thing, because then that's going to have the risk of getting not having results. There's something here. It's like you're overdoing it, but you're fearful of slowing down and actually concentrating on things that are more immediate and just taking it one step at a time. You're fearful around what that means for you or your life. And then another clarifier for this is she who unfolds swath, embrace, and self-care. So there's something about this period where you are resisting relaxing. And this is what the full moon in Libra squaring Mars in your 12th, which is 12th house, is about. Being removed from the world. It's about sleep. It's about rest. It's about spiritual connection time, where we're filling up our cup through our imagination or meditation or time in nature or time alone. And you guys haven't been doing that enough with this self-care card. You haven't been taking care of yourself enough. You've been pushing so much from this mental faculty place, full moon in the 3rd house in an air sign. You've been quite busy, and it's driven by really negative beliefs. And that's because the sun and Chiron are conjunct in Aries in the 9th house. So this placement, Chiron in the 9th, is perpetuating a really rigid mindset of thinking that things like need to be exhausting. So there might be something here where it's like you've been a little bit stubborn about something, where you're refusing to give something up. You're refusing to let something go. You're refusing to rest or to take it easy. It's like you're continuing to just hold on to something that is causing you exhaustion or suffering. And there's this obstinance there. And the 4 of Cups in reverse is somebody who is, again, refusing to say no to stuff. Like if somebody's trying to make plans with you, maybe you already have enough going on, or you're already tired, or maybe you have health conditions or something that you're dealing with in your life that's making you have less energy available. Or even just Mars in the 12th, but you're not acknowledging that, and instead you're saying yes to all the plans, or trying to do everything, even though you clearly just don't have the capacity. So this card is really saying that you've been stubborn, and you've been continuing to engage in stuff despite the fact that maybe you don't even fully want to. There's something in your life where it's like, am I really even that excited about this? Am I really even that emotionally fulfilled or invested in this? Because maybe you're not. And I think a lot of it is a lot of the desire to keep going is, first of all, the fact that you're a fixed sign. There is that rigidity in the sense that you hold on to things more or you stay in things longer as a fixed sign. I also think there is that these beliefs around, I have to be able to withstand this. I have to be able to do this on my own, which is Chiron and Aries in the ninth house. The ruler of this full moon, Venus, is also with Saturn, North Node, Neptune, Mercury, and your eighth house. And Venus and Pisces here in the eighth house really wants you to look at the fears around what happens if I slow down? What happens if I give this up? What happens if I delegate? What happens if I don't go on that thing that I committed to or on that trip or whatever this is? What if I just don't do it? And then all of the fears that come up around that, or the insecurities or the financial issues that come up around that, that's what Venus wants you to look at. It wants you to look deeper into, what if I don't do this? Because whatever that is driving you to commit to something that's exhausting you unnecessarily. So what about your advice? So we start off with the Six of Pentacles and the World in reverse. So the Six of Pentacles is this feeling of reciprocity, this feeling of having balance in your life. And you can literally see that there's balanced scales, on this card here. So there's something here around feeling like you need to be filled up a little bit more, or you need life to feel more balanced. And part of that with the World in reverse is deciding to not complete something. Don't go on that trip. Don't work those extra hours. Don't say yes to those plans. Don't try to do everything all at once. There's this feeling of needing to be okay with not honoring all of your commitments or not completing everything that you started, because that is actually going to help create a more balanced life for you. Your other advice cards is the Four of Swords and the Three of Pentacles. This is a time to reevaluate how you are working or how you are collaborating with people, or what kind of commitments you're making with people. So this could be, even if you don't have a lot going on in your work, this could even be a social thing where you've got a lot going on a social plate and it's leading to some kind of burnout, but you're not resting. This card is talking about reevaluating those commitments that you have with people, the plans that you make, the work that you do, whatever this is. It's like, how can I go about this in a way that actually suits me better and creates a more balanced life in the long term? Your other advice cards are She Who Surprises, Surprise, Discovery, Revelation. She Who Creates, Creativity, Originality, and Spontaneity. So you guys need to go through a period of mixing up your life. This could be the fact that maybe you don't have like too much on your plate. Maybe it's too much of the same thing. It's going to be different for everybody, but there's this feeling of being weighed down by what you're doing. Maybe you don't love what you're doing. Maybe again, every day is the same and you're waking up frustrated, or maybe you just quite literally have too much on your plate. Whatever it is, I think that you guys need to shake things up. You need to shake up your routine. You need to feel like you have maybe a little bit of wiggle room, or just a capacity to have change, variety, newness, and space in order to be able to bring in that newness. You have to rest in order to feel creative, in order to feel alive, in order to feel inspired. If you are not resting, you're not going to be able to tap into the intuition that you have, or these great ideas, or you're not going to feel inspired by life. And so I think that this whole reading is ultimately telling you, try to evaluate how you are going through your work or your commitments to people, your plans, and look at how you can take care of yourself better. This could even eventually break down into ill health if you are not careful. So be really wise about what you're taking on, and be willing to release yourself from existing commitments that you're not that interested in, or that you just don't have the energy for. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. I hope that resonates. If it does, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, nice to have Virgo rising and sun. For you guys, this Libra full moon happening on the 12th of April is taking place in your second house. So this full moon to me is a lot about needing to make a decision and get out of a period of stasis or stagnation. With this full moon being in your second house, this has a lot to deal with believing in yourself and maybe even making some kind of commitment financially, or needing to kind of get out of a rut of what you always do. Because the second house is the most constant, steadfast house. And it's all about like things remaining or maintaining what is. That's what I think you guys are needing to change. And ultimately, this full moon indicates that we all have some kind of insecurity holding us back that is preventing those decisions from being made, preventing you from believing in yourself or taking a financial risk or getting out of some kind of rut of what you've always done. And Chiron conjunct the sun opposite this moon is pointing to that pain and insecurity. And we'll talk about that once we get to the cards. But ultimately, the need to make a decision is represented by this full moon squaring Mars in the 11th house. And this decision is going to be something that impacts your future and impacts your friends or your loved ones or your family. And that is something that I think is also playing into the fear and the doubt and the insecurity. So let's dive into the cards so I can help you understand this a little bit more. So we start off with the Hierophant in reverse. Actually, real quick, I broke the deck into 3 piles, or I pulled cards for 3 piles. One is what is stagnating, where are you held back or need to make a decision? Why? Where is there insecurity, pain, wounding that is fueling that? And then what's your advice? So we have the Hierophant in reverse. This is a card about someone needing to break the mold of tradition. They need to get out of their comfort zone. They need to, again, create more spontaneity or newness, aliveness, or change in their life. But they might be a little bit too much like falling in line. They might be falling in line with what has been or what they've always done or what people expect from them, what their job expects, what is more safe or more traditional. So there's something here where you're being held back a little bit by a fear in some ways of breaking out of a mold of your own making or of society's making. We also have the Two of Pentacles and the Lovers card. So part of you are wanting to break out of that mold, but you're also juggling that with how this is going to affect other people. This is especially emphasized because the ruler of this Libra full moon is Venus, and Venus is conjunct Saturn, which has a lot to do with tradition and being kind of influenced by that. But Venus also is in Pisces in your 7th house of people or relationships. So you're very much looking at, if I do this thing differently, how is this going to affect the people that I love? Am I going to see them less? Am I going to have less money? Am I going to have less quality time with them? Or is this going to upset them because I made this decision? There's something here around that where you're really juggling what you want, like a true sense of freedom that you feel is moving, is exciting you, that you are not actually pursuing yet, because you're juggling it or weighing it against the way that other people are going to perceive it, the way that it's going to affect your loved ones, and it's ultimately causing this stagnation. We also have the Eight of Wands and the Fool. So this is what could be for you. You guys could be entering into a period of change, of things moving very quickly, of having a fresh start with something or having some kind of leap of faith with something. There is this feeling here of like, just like almost like skydiving, where you're liberating yourself and you're jumping out of that plane and it's thrilling, it's fast, it's exciting, it's new. That's the energy that is available. But I feel like you guys are too fearful, again, of how this is going to impact other people. And I also think with Chiron in the 8th house that there are deeper wounds and insecurities here. So let's talk about those with the cards. So we have 8 of Pentacles. Some of you guys might quite literally feel like you're not equipped to do something yet because you don't have the knowledge or skill set. So some of you guys could feel like you are wanting to gain that knowledge and skill set, but you are, with the Two of Wands in reverse, scared of the unknown. So you're just saying, oh, I'm just gonna not go and study that thing or go to that place or try to do that new kind of career because I don't want to, I'm scared of what's on the other side of that. So there's a fear of change, and it's restricting your options, not choosing to look at how you can develop the skill, how you can better yourself at this thing, and instead looking at all the reasons why you can't or don't want to do something and holding yourself back. The Eight of Pentacles could also be unfounded, where you actually are ready for something. Maybe you do have the skill for something, but you're telling yourself that you don't. So there's two ways. Maybe you do lack the skill, the knowledge, the awareness, or the tools, but you're not actually going out and developing them because of the fear of the unknown, or you do have them, but you are telling yourself that you don't because the fear of the unknown. All of it comes down to the fear of the unknown. Anyway, the other thing that's holding you back is the Seven of Wands in reverse. This is somebody who is lacking the courage and the conviction of their goals and their desires. So if somebody pushes back at all against what you want, you're like, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'm not good at that. Yeah, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't take that chance. You're right. And there's this lack of self-belief and, again, conviction. And so you're just folding on what you believe. You're just giving it up, admitting defeat really easily because of any external circumstances that could push back, other people that could push back, anything that creates any kind of resistance. You're like, yeah, that's right. That's right. And you're kind of just giving up on it. So there is this focus here on you guys needing to come into a place where you believe more in yourself and in your future. And this is why this full moon is squaring Mars in the 11th house, which is a future-oriented house. This is something about needing to have conviction in that area around those wishes, around those dreams, instead of having fear and fear of the unknown and feeling like, oh, I shouldn't even try. So this is what you're needing to move towards, basically, is greater conviction. And I can see that with your advice card, we have the Star. The Star is a card of hope, of believing that something better is on the other side, that if I do this, I'm going to have X, Y, and Z result, or I'm going to accomplish what I want, or this is going to be worthwhile. And then building that conviction as a result of holding on to hope. And I feel like I just got this image of somebody holding on to a candle, and it's lit and it's like near their heart, and they're scared to move because with the wind, the candle can be blown out. So a little bit of resistance, a little bit of movement forward, it could immediately extinguish that sense of hope. And I feel like you guys are needing to protect the candle. Have your heart around, or your hand around your heart. And what I mean by that is that you need to protect your seed of hope while it is still growing and becoming stronger and in this process of unfolding. So don't let the wind come and easily blow it out. You need to make sure that you guard yourself from the opinions of others, or that you build yourself back up or relight your candle if there is something that blows it out, or some kind of extenuating circumstances that creates a blockage around it. But you need to protect the hope for your future. We also have the Four of Swords. So this is somebody who also might need to, in some degree, go back to the drawing board and contemplate a little bit more about how they can go about this. So if there is some kind of issue or delay or something along those lines, this is a card around becoming entering into problem solving mode, but also becoming self-aware. This card is about reflection and understanding kind of where you are maybe feeding into these feelings of lacking hope or insecurity. So it's basically saying, take some more time to reflect on this a little bit, to become aware of how you might be holding yourself back, or how you can come up with a solution if there's a problem, so that you can move forward with a plan, instead of feeling like, oh, I don't know what's out there, so I'm not going to move forward. What if you make your plan and then you're like, okay, I can account for X, Y, and Z. I kind of have an idea of how I can go about this. Maybe I have a budget set aside for this. For example, maybe I have an itinerary if it's a trip. Maybe I have a timeline on my calendar if it's a project. Whatever this is, it's like, let's make a plan to feel like we are fully equipped to move forward. Then the other advice card is the King of Wands. And this is somebody who is confident, who's energized, who's optimistic. They're action oriented. They're driven by their passion. They're not just going to sit there in the planning mode. They're going to move into a period of action. So all of this is about taking control of your life, maybe even being a little bit more selfish. And that can also be a wounding with Chiron and Aries, where we feel like I'm a selfish person, or if I do this, I'm going to hurt someone, or it's going to affect someone, or it's going to take this risk in this way, and I can't have courage. I can't believe in myself. This card is about undoing all of that. It's about having the courage, the conviction, the self-belief to be bold, to take risks, to do something for yourself that you really want, and to follow your passions by taking action and not just deliberating or giving up. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If this resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, I'm going to say Libra rising and sun. So this is a Libra full moon on April 12th in your first house. And this is a sensitive time because this full moon, or the moon in Libra, is opposite the sun, which is conjunct Chiron. So it is involving a more kind of painful point. And Chiron in the 7th house of relationships can bring up sensitivity, especially when it comes around to other people, sensitivity within relationships, insecurity, wounding, past pains around connections and relationships. And this full moon is about making a decision. It's about committing to something or taking action on something and getting out of a period of a limbo or stagnation. For you, this is about moving your life forward, because this is squaring Mars in your 10th house of your future life goals, your career. And there's something about your life needing to progress or complete some kind of cycle that you are fearful of completing, that you are holding on to some element of the past. And we're going to talk about all this and break it all down, but it's very much related to relationships here, as well as issues within the self. So we're going to talk about all of it. I pulled some cards. I have them broken up into 3 groups. One is the area that is stagnating. What do you need to make a decision about? That type of thing. Then why are you holding yourself back? What is the wounding that is underneath that? And then the advice. So let's start off with the Queen of Wands in reverse. This is a card that speaks to a lack of self-confidence. So all of this moving, like inability to move forward with something in your life, or commit to a direction in your life, or to a decision, or to see something to completion, or to give something up, or to enter into something. All of that is actually deeply rooted into a lack of self-confidence, a lack of self-belief, having a lot of doubt, like, will this ever work out? Am I going to be good enough? This is a full moon in your first house, which has a lot to do with the self. So there's a lot that you're needing to work through in terms of how much you believe in yourself, or what you believe about yourself, and how capable you feel that you are in terms of getting what you want or making the right decisions in your life. So I feel like you're in a period right now where you're doubting yourself, or you're uncertain about, if you're capable of making those right decisions, like I said. Then we have the Knight of Wands. This is a card around somebody that is able to see something through to completion. This card also can speak to you guys maybe feeling like you are moving forward too quickly. So there can be also this desire to kind of hold back because you are uncertain if you're making the right choices. And then this card in some ways wants to propel you forward and wants you to continue to progress your life. But then you might also feel like, well, am I moving too quickly? Am I taking, is this too much of a risk? Am I making the right choice? Am I doing this too fast? Am I being hasty or impulsive? And then I can really see this kind of second guessing yourself come in with the 5 of Swords, where part of you feels really defeated and maybe just wants to like give up in a way. So part of you wants to move things forward in your life and progress things in a way that isn't second guessing yourself. And then another part of you is almost like in a defeatist mentality where you feel maybe overwhelmed by what's been going on in your life. Maybe you feel that the challenges that you've been encountering make you want to give up or admit defeat with something, or you don't want to, yeah, almost like you're like, I want to move this thing forward, but also part of me is like, I'm just like in the dumps, down in the dumps in a way that it might be hard to feel like you have what it takes at this time to keep going. And what I feel like is trying to happen right now is a cycle wants to complete itself. With the Knight of Pentacles and the World card, there's something that wants to come to completion in your life to create more stability. The Knight of Pentacles to me is the most stable card in the deck. It's very consistent, and it progresses its life slowly but surely. And then we end in the World, which is, okay, this cycle has successfully ended. It's successfully completed as a result of continuously moving forward, one step at a time. So I just feel like there's something in your life where you guys have been, again, questioning yourself or lacking certain confidence within yourself. And maybe you feel somewhat defeated and like you're struggling to keep going, but something in your life wants to wrap up. It wants to complete. So like, let's say this is an old relationship. Maybe you had a breakup, for example, and this pile is saying that you are needing to move on with your life, but another part of you isn't ready to move on. You feel defeated, and it's saying that that it wants you to stabilize your life by slowly and surely taking steps forward to complete the relationship, to end the cycle with them, and to move on in your life in whatever direction that takes you. If this is a project, for example, this could be you, maybe you need to complete something, but you are having insecurities come up around it. And maybe you're, again, in some points you're ready to move forward, but in some other points you're like, maybe I'm not ready for that yet. And it's saying to take slow and steady steps to complete this project and put it out into the world. So these are just some examples. It could be anything, but I think for a lot of you, it will center around either the development of the self, or relationships, or it will somehow involve some kind of commitment with an entity or a person because of the Sun and Chiron in the 7th house opposite the moon. So this could be like a project with a partner or working with a company, and you're like, I'm not ready to move on from that yet. But there's something here where it's like, have faith and believe in yourself, and don't let the insecurity that comes from other people, or that relationship or that commitment to that person or that business or that entity or company, don't let that, the wounding from that or the insecurity from that hold you back from continuing to move your life forward. So let's talk about what is holding you back. So ultimately, I think what's holding you back is that element of the relationship, to that thing. And it's also Mars in the 10th, which is in some ways like a fear of the future. So let's talk about it. We have the Death card in reverse. This card speaks to somebody who is not wanting to let something go. They're not wanting to have an ending occur in their life. They're not wanting to go through a necessary change. And so they're kind of resisting a little bit. So that is part of what's holding you back, is maybe I'm scared of ending with this person or this company, and I'm scared around what that means for me. I'm scared about the future and this and that. The other card I pulled around what else is holding you back is the Wheel of Fortune, which is interesting because this is usually a card that speaks to things turning in your favor. But this is also a card that speaks to karma, and to cycles of our life as well, and even to soulmates. And so some of you guys could feel, with this 2 of Cups as a clarifier in reverse, some of you guys could feel like, well, am I breaking up with my soulmate? Was I meant to be on this path still? Was I still meant to be at this job? Is this like, do I still need to be involved in this? And there could be some kind of actual karmic tie that is making you doubt this fear of moving on is coming from a karmic tie to someone or something that you are not 100% willing to let go of yet, that you're not 100% on board with coming to the completion of this cycle. But with the World card and the Knight of Pentacles, I do think you are going to complete the cycle. You just have to make that commitment and that decision, even if it's painful, at this full moon. So, what is some advice for how to navigate that? Well, first of all, in order to make this decision, I think that you need to look at your past. With the Six of Cups here, you need to be more aware of how your childhood plays into this, how your experiences and your psychological makeup from, again, past experiences really are influencing your entanglement with this current cycle and a fear of letting it go, even though there is karma here that has played out and it's done. There's something in this where it feels a little bit more, again, entangled for you because of some issues that relate back to childhood. So I think it would be really helpful to have a therapist or a journal or work through this a little bit, because this is very much, again, it's a karmic cycle, which means that it's something that is either linked to a past life or a childhood experience or something just previously in your life. Doesn't have to be from your childhood. I want to also mention that the ruler of this moon, Venus, is in the sixth house with Saturn and North Node and Mercury all in Pisces. To me, how you work through this is by actually taking the steps on a day-to-day basis. The sixth house is about finding healing through routine. And this could be as simple as, taking care of your health and your body and making sure that that's a priority for you. Having a meditation practice, going to yoga, going out in nature. But there's something about the daily practice of taking care of yourself on a spiritual level, on a physical level, that will contribute greatly to you ending this cycle and having a lot of healing in that process. So that's a really big part of this as well. So looking at the Six of Cups, how your entanglement with the cycle relates to your past, and specifically looking at how you might actually be stuck in a little bit of like a mindset that is entangled from that past. There could be ways that you are playing certain mind, if this is a relationship, there could be ways that you're actually playing into certain mind games that is a karmic pattern or cycle that you're not aware of, that you maybe have been in for a few relationships now. There might be certain things that you are attracted to within the workplace, if this is talking about a work commitment, that, like gossip, or maybe entering into a dynamic with a company or a boss that is that doesn't treat you well and then has you really defensive the whole time. It's going to look different for everybody, but there's stuff going on here that you are contributing to, especially in terms of like the mentality and the psychological approach and relationship with the thing that you've been in. You're karmically entangled in it, in a cycle. And it's important, in order to complete the cycle, that you not only make the decision to leave it, but that you also become aware of what was playing out in that cycle, because that is actually what is going to stop it from repeating in the future. For example, if you always end up in relationships where there's these push-pull dynamics, maybe you finally decide to leave that relationship, but if you don't actually work through what causes the push and pull between you and another person, you might never end that cycle, and you could end up in another relationship that plays out that same cat and mouse dynamic. So it's really becoming aware of your role in this and the psychological mind play that's at play here. And I think that the moon card in reverse really speaks to things becoming illuminated, becoming really clear around where you may have blocked your own connection to your emotions or your intuition, where you maybe have, again, gotten entangled in the mind of things, in the logic of things, or in the psychology of things, instead of really listening to your heart, where you may have had fears or anxieties that are going to be illuminated now, that could have been, driving factors and why you were in this karmic cycle to begin with. It's all about a period of illuminating the inner world. So this is your advice right now, to become really clear on your past, because the card that I have is She Who Divines Future Choice and Judgment. When you become really aware of your past, you ensure that you are not going to continue to actively engage in that in your future, because you're bringing consciousness to these patterns, to these behaviors, to these emotional drivers that are going to allow you to decide something different in the future. So this is super, super important that you go into your past right now, because without this, you might never end the cycle fully. Even though you decide to leave this commitment with this person or this entity, and you decide to move in a new direction, you might encounter that same issues if you don't put a stop to it on an internal level as well. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. I hope that makes sense. If it does, please let me know in the comments down below. This is a very significant and healing full moon for you. It could also be triggering, but it's very important to do the inner work here, because it will allow you to finally reach a certain potential in your life, to move towards a certain direction, maybe in your career or just a life goal. That is something that you've always wanted, but because of these certain karmic patterns and entanglements, you haven't been able to do. So work through these things, allow them to maybe trigger you, allow them to be felt on an emotional level, so that you can truly become aware of what your inner world is telling you, so you can process everything and finally liberate yourself from this long-standing pattern or cycle, and complete whatever this is. So again, that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, please comment down below if it resonates. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next you have Scorpio rising and sun. For you guys, this Libra full moon happening on April 12th is taking place in the 12th house. So what is this going to bring for you? Well, I feel like there is a potential destruction of a childhood dream. Okay, we're going to get into all what this means, but there is something here around almost like needing to reconcile something about the material world and what we imagine or what we hope for, especially when we're younger, and how those things don't always align. A full moon in the 12th house is extremely immaterial, but when I'm looking at the cards that I have pulled around, what choice do you need to make, or what commitment or decision or path do you need to go on, all the cards are coming up that have to do with the material reality. So I feel like it's more so, this full moon is more so a reconciling around those differences between what we hold in our heart and our imagination, which is very 12th house, and and what actually materializes. This full moon is a little bit more sensitive than other ones because it's opposing Chiron in the sun. So Chiron is where we feel like we don't measure up, or something isn't going well, or we have fear or wounding or pain around it. And so there's something about this moon that inherently is going to bring up sensitive subjects. I think it's about needing to make some kind of decision because it is squaring Mars in Cancer in your 9th house. For you guys, I feel like the decision is to maybe have a little bit of a change in perspective, but also to continue to hope. So I feel like there's something here around, continuing to believe that your hard work will pay off, or that growth is still coming, and that things are going to work out in your favor, even if they don't quite measure up in the way that you think they should at this moment in time, or to what you thought things should be like when you were a kid. So that's kind of an overview, but let's go ahead and dive into what this is saying in the cards. So I pulled a couple different piles of cards. One that talks about the decision that needs to be made to get you out of a period of stagnation. The other is what was causing that stagnation, what Chiron, basically wounding, is driving that. And then what's the advice? Okay, so we start off with the Three of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles. We also have the Queen of Swords and King of Pentacles. So you can see all very logical, practical, material things. So the Three of Pentacles is a card where somebody is working on something that maybe requires, putting different heads together. Maybe it requires consistent effort over time, like constructing a house or building a career. There's this energy of things requiring quite a bit of intention and labor. We also have the Knight of Pentacles, which is also very consistent and hardworking and disciplined and quite stable. So there's something about you where you may have been working hard on something, or you maybe have been really consistent or trying your best and you're wanting it to pay off. But it might feel like at this moment in time that it hasn't materialized yet, that you've put all this energy into something that is maybe at its beginning, or that hasn't, like a seed that hasn't broken through the ground yet, something along those lines. So there's something here of like, I want my hard work to pay off, but it's not here yet. And it can create almost like a crisis of faith where you start to question things. And with the Queen of Swords, this energy can be really helpful in the sense that it can make you willing to accept things for how they are, accept the reality for how things are. But it can also be a little bit cold-hearted in the sense that it can make you overly logical and detached almost from the material outcome that you're looking for. So I feel like you're wanting something to bear fruit, and you're coming at it from this really logical perspective. But I don't know that that's what you need, right? I feel like the logical perspective can be helpful, but it can also make you too detached and emotionally from what you're doing to a point where you could give up prematurely, or you could make a decision around something before it's materialized based off of pure logic and fact, when it's more important to come from the heart and listen to what you really, really desire. So there's something here about wanting something to materialize, but maybe being overly practical and logical in your approach. And with the King of Pentacles, this is saying that you can achieve this mastery or this wealth or this material success or this, something coming into fruition in the physical reality. It's saying that you can have that, but you have to maintain a sense of hope and faith, which is what this full moon squaring Mars in the ninth is about. It's about, are you going to decide to believe in this, or are you going to revert to being very logical? And I think that has to do with Chiron in the sixth house, where you can be overly practical because there is a lack of confidence. And sometimes people will intellectualize things in a way that destroys the magic, the imagination, the possibility, the dream of something that you have to believe in a sort of blind faith way for it to actually become reality. And so there's something about this where you need to believe in yourself. You need to believe that you are capable of making something happen in the material world, and not become so logical that you become cold-hearted and detached from the potential of something. So I also asked the cards, where is this wounding coming from? Why are you becoming really practical and really logical? And I got the Page of Wands and the Three of Wands, which I find really interesting because when we're talking about what you want to materialize, we have all Pentacles and a Swords card. And then the blockage, or like the wounding, is around Wands, which is all about our passion and our inspiration and what makes us feel alive, really. So the Page of Wands is like a childlike energy, somebody who is fully there's like an innocence there. They're fully invested in their dreams, and they're not coming in here again with the logic of like, oh, I gotta pay my taxes, so, and like, does that actually make sense financially, and how long is that gonna take, and does that make enough ROI at the end? It's not like that, and that's what I feel like you're in right now, and that's keeping you stuck. I think you're meant to be healing your relationship with your childlike dream and imagination, and reconciling it with how things might need to adapt to reality right now. And it's okay if there are some alterations and changes, but it's important because it's important not to give up on the child inspiration and these bright ideas and feeling really excited and passionate about these things. It's important to keep that alive, to keep the hope alive, even if the dreams have to adjust. Again, we also pulled the Three of Wands. So the Three of Wands is a card in a lot of ways of adventure and of taking some kind of risk. And sometimes it can literally mean like travel. So going to a new place. But there's something here around growth and expansion and your hard work paying off and believing in yourself and being brave and taking risks and chances on yourself. And this is part of what is holding you back because you're not fully in this energy that you need to be in. So it's not like something negative is holding you back in the sense that you're like really fearful or insecure. I mean, those things could be happening, but it's almost like you're not fully in your childlike energy. You're not fully in your brave energy. So it's telling you, it's not telling you to stop something as much as it's telling you to start something. I guess you could stop with the being overly logical, though that can be nice when paired with the childlike optimism and imagination. The ruler of this full moon is Venus, and Venus is currently in Pisces, which is the sign of the dreamer, and it's in the 5th house, which is the house of children and of our childlike essence. It's also conjunct Saturn, the North Node, and Neptune and Mercury. So in particular with Venus conjunct Saturn, there's definitely this element here of being able to be childlike and still have a plan and still be realistic and still be practical. So being able to stretch your dreams or to stretch reality to fit a little bit more of the childlike dreams is important, but also to respect the things that you have to do to make that happen. So it's like a balance between the two. I hope that's making sense. But I think that the ruler of this moon being in the 5th house of your childlike essence is really, really trying to help you in some ways let go of certain attachments and expectations that you had that maybe came from a place of being a little naive or young. And then with the Saturn energy also starting to incorporate wisdom, where you are able to adapt those dreams to our current reality. So I feel like I'm repeating myself. The advice here is just that. It's a 6 of Cups, which again is all about our childhood. And then we have the 4 of Cups. So this is someone getting kind of depressed because they feel like, oh, my dreams aren't manifesting in the way that I thought they were. Or this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it would be. Or I saw myself being this kind of person at this age and I don't have that yet. Or I'm not like that yet. And so this is this feeling of like pessimism. But this is your advice. And so there's something here where it's like, allow yourself to feel those feelings. And then after that is a Tower card, which is once you feel that, allow yourself to just kind of blow up that dream a little bit or blow up those expectations and release some of the attachment to it should look this way. I should be this way. I should have this by now. X, Y, and Z, because that is the thing that's going to make you feel hopeless because you're going to compare yourself to an unrealistic ideal that you had maybe previously. And so this Tower card wants you to blow it up so that you can actually piece things back together in a new and more solid way that can manifest into reality. We also have the She Who Battles, Justice, Fierce, and Commitment. So it's staying committed to the essence of your goal, staying committed to the end vision, but allowing it again to morph or to change in a way that will be able to manifest for you. So ultimately, again, this full moon is in the 12th house. The 12th house has a lot to deal with letting things go, surrendering to certain things, and still having faith. And that's what I feel like this ultimate journey is for you. And you have to commit and make the decision to still continue down this path and still have faith and still embody childlike wonder and imagination. in this process. So that's what I see for you, Scorpio. If that resonates, please let me know down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. This Libra full moon happening on April 12th is occurring in your 11th house. And the 11th house is often where we have certain hopes or wishes or sense of community or future orientation. And I'm still kind of getting over my cold, I guess. But this moon is opposite the sun and Chiron together. So there is some type of wounding happening here that is preventing us from fully moving forward on some of these things. So it might prevent you from connecting with community, from pursuing certain ideals or dreams, or feeling supported in certain ways because of maybe self-isolation. So this full moon, I really see it as a turning point where we need to get out of a period of stagnation and make an important decision. And I see that because this full moon squares Mars in your 8th house. And so there are going to be certain fears and insecurities that you have to overcome, especially when it comes to relying on other people at the time of this full moon. So that's kind of like an overview. Let me go ahead and break it down though in a little bit more detail. Looking at the cards. So I have 3 different piles of cards. One is speaking to what is stagnant or what decision needs to be made to get out of that period of time or period of stagnation. The other is what is holding you back. What are the Chiron woundings here that could be influencing you to make certain decisions, and then advice. So we're starting off with the Empress card. I also have the She Who Nurtures card, empathy, gentleness, and insight. And Empress and the Nurture card really speak about the same things to me. There is a sense of feeling really taken care of or uplifted by your community or your friends, feeling really nurtured, feeling really loved. And that makes a lot of sense with this full moon in the 11th house of community and friendship. And then also the ruler of this moon, Venus, being in the 4th house of home and family and security. This might be something that you really want. Maybe you want friends that feel like family, or maybe you want to feel like you belong, or maybe you want a greater sense of emotional security with the people in your life, or maybe you want more financial security and you want support from the people around you in order to build towards certain dreams. Maybe you want greater stability and love and support within the home or within your family, and feeling like that gives you the opportunity to go out into the world and do more with friends, or just feel more at peace. So this can manifest in a lot of ways, but there's something here that you want to be nurtured by, that I think ultimately maybe you want to nurture others too, but there's something that you want to have the support of. You want to be able to receive. Maybe you want your friends to give back, your family to help you. Maybe you want more money. Maybe you want a different kind of home, or a home in general. Maybe you want things to improve in your family or friendship relationships. Again, this is going to look different for everybody, but there's something here where it's like, I want to open up to just receive and be loved and be nurtured in my current state and in what's going on. However, we follow that by the 4 of Pentacles and 5 of Cups. So there is a feeling of lack and scarcity, as well as disappointment. So maybe you, if you're wanting more money or more financial stability, maybe you just don't have that right now, and you feel like you are kind of stuck there. Maybe you, if this is talking about relationships, maybe you have had not as many friends as you would like, or maybe you want closer bonds or more of a feeling of support within the home or in some area of your life, and you don't have that, and there's a scarcity. And it can make you feel like you're focusing a little bit on the disappointment of that, of look at everything I'm missing, look at everything that's not going right. And it can be a little bit more of this lack mindset or scarcity mindset. We follow that with the sun in reverse, which speaks to pessimism and losing hope about something, not seeing a way forward, or just feeling in general like your confidence and enthusiasm has taken a hit a little bit. Or this could sometimes be unrealistic expectations around something. So you might start to question, am I having too high of an expectation of myself or another person? Is wanting this too much, for example? So there's something here where I feel like you guys want to receive nurturing, love, support. You want security, maybe financial security, friendship, community. But there's some feeling of that disappointing you. And you're like, am I asking for too much right now? So that could very much feel that way. I just get the sense that you are a little bit more like vulnerable right now, and I can see that with this fragile card. She who loved once, fragile, secret love, rejection. Maybe you guys feel somehow like socially isolated, maybe feel a little bit rejected in some way. Maybe you feel a little bit fragile if you recently went through a hard time and you need a little bit more kind of care. But there's this feeling of like needing people to be soft with you, empathetic with you, needing to be taken care of at this time because of that fragility. So, but even though you might need that, you might also have a block around feeling like it's possible, or reaching out to the right people, or putting yourself in the right situations where you can get the help or the financial support you need or the emotional support you need. So there's something here where I feel like you have maybe some limiting beliefs around getting this support that could be in some ways blocking you. I think a lot of it can come with the devil in reverse from being hyper independent. And this is a very much Chiron and Aries wound. And again, Chiron and Aries is opposing this moon. So it may feel like I have to do it all on my own. Chiron and Aries is in your fifth house of the self. The self is the first house, but the fifth house can also be very much about the self as well in other ways. It can also be social. But anyway, Aries is about the self, and it's in the fifth house. So there's some kind of limiting belief here of like, I have to do this on my own. Or maybe you feel like there are, I don't know. Maybe there's just a little bit here of like, I have to be the one to manage this. I need to be in control of this. I can't give that up to somebody else. Or maybe you have kind of given up or been a little bit detached in trying to get certain relationships going. So there's something here where it's like, there's not as much effort necessarily on your part, or there's limiting beliefs even when you are trying, type of thing. So what else could be holding you back is a King of Pentacles. So another way, this is a really stable card and a very positive card when it comes to material success. However, it's also a card that can show you being very cautious, being like the dependable one, the reliable one, the strong one, and not necessarily being willing to break down or, share your vulnerabilities or ask for help or put yourself in a precarious social situation where you have the potential to be rejected. There's something here, it's like not making yourself vulnerable. And this full moon squares Mars in the 8th house is asking you to make a decision to rely on other people, to put yourself in a vulnerable situation, to not always have everything together or control everything yourself, but to be in a situation where you let others take care of you. So I think that's part of what you have to do, is let go of the battle with this battle card. Let go of the fight to like have it all on your own, or do it all on your own, or be in charge of it on your own, or try not to get hurt. There's something here. It's like there's a fight here to keep it all to keep it all stable. And it's like, what if we just didn't try to that? What if we allowed it to collapse? What if we allowed things to be messy and allowed other people to come in and help clean us up in a way, or help nurture us into wholeness again, to rely on somebody. There's something around that here where I feel like you guys might need to break down a little bit and find some sense of security through your family, through your friends, through maybe getting financial support or emotional support. There's something here where it's like, it's okay to ask for and need help. And that's what I can see for your advice. We have the 3 of Pentacles. So this is about being stronger together, relying on people around you, allowing the team unit to get you to where you want to go. And that's what a full moon in the 11th house is really about. It's about the sense of community and the sense of being supported and doing something together. And I think that this is in many ways going to renew your hope, but part of your advice is to continue to have faith that this is possible, even though you may have been disappointed by people or situations in the past, or maybe you just haven't had those resources or haven't had that support. It's like continue to hope for it anyway, because it will come to you. And a lot of this full moon is about healing with Chiron in Aries opposite the moon. It's a lot about releasing the need to be the defender or be the strong one, and heal any of those tendencies and continue to have hope and faith that support is there for you. The last card that I have for your advice is the Knight of Cups, which I really love because I feel like this is a very playful card. This is a card that has a lot to deal with being in your romantic era, right? Your creative era. So there's something about this where you guys are meant to return a little bit more to this feeling of I don't know. How do I put this? If you've been really on your own, this is like feeling charmed by people, this feeling the warmth of connection, feeling the peace of being surrounded by people who love you or having the resources that you need because they're helping you. So this is like focusing on building the emotional connections within relationships, or being diplomatic if you need to kind of negotiate for more support or more money, or you need help from someone with something. It's like not being afraid to lean into asking people for things, or accepting invitations if somebody else is offering. So asking for something, reaching out, reaching to connect, allowing people to take care of you, allowing people to sweep you off your feet, to charm you, to build up your life. Again, entering a more romantic period of time in every sense of the word, even with friendships. So if this is about a romantic relationship, which is probably is not given the astrology, but if it is, it's about letting somebody back in again. So whatever this is, I really feel like you guys need to know that there is strength in numbers, and that is what's going to help you the most right now. And you don't always have to be strong. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Sagittarius. If that resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next you have Capricorn rising and sun. For you guys, this Libra full moon is happening on April 10th in your 10th house of career and life goals and life objectives. And this is a sensitive full moon because it's opposite Chiron in your 4th house. Chiron is conjunct the sun, it's in Aries, and Chiron is an asteroid of wounding. And so I think many of us are going to realize how certain fears or wounds or insecurities or doubts or perspectives have held us back in some way. This is a cardinal full moon squaring Mars in your 7th house. To me, this means that we need to go through some kind of period of initiating something and getting out of stagnancy, making a decision, committing to a path. And a square to Mars really feels like that tension that we need in order to take action. So I'm going to break this all down with the cards. So I have 3 piles. One pile is concerning what is stagnating or what decision you need to make. The second is what wounding is driving that. And then what is your advice? So let's start off with what is stagnating. So we're starting off with the 4 of Swords. So this is a card that speaks to being in a period of, in many ways, inactivity and introspection. And this period of time, you may feel like you are overthinking things or you are overwhelmed. You might even be wanting to spend more time alone because of feeling maybe just a little bit overwhelmed and overstimulated and having too many thoughts, but not necessarily a sense of direction for all those thoughts. It's very possible that part of the reason that you're stagnating with the Seven of Swords and Ace of Swords in reverse, it could have been that there is some kind of idea that you had or strategy or plan that you had that has failed or has proven itself to not be effective, or something along those lines, where you're really, really thinking now about everything. And again, maybe needing more time to be alone because certain ideas and plans and ideas that you previously were running with may have kind of sputtered out, or maybe they just fell off a cliff and they didn't manifest properly. So there's something here where your mind has been trying to find the solution to something, but what it was finding wasn't really working. And a full moon in the 10th house is all about having a plan. It's about knowing where you're going, knowing what you're doing. But this is a full moon opposite Chiron. So there's something about this idea or this plan that is actually coming from a place of maybe it didn't work, or you need to come back to the drawing board. There's something about it that there are holes in the logic or holes in the ideas that make you feel like you can't move forward and create maybe even some crippling anxiety or overthinking around the issue. Part of what's going on here with the High Priestess is that there's some element of this needing to be a mystery. You might want to have it all planned out. You might want to have it all figured out. But the ruler of this full moon is Venus, and Venus is in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of the mystery, of the esoteric, of the abstract, of the undefinable. And so there's some element of this where you need to have a plan, because Venus is conjunct Saturn, and Saturn really wants things to materialize and it wants to have a plan. So does the full moon in the 10th house. So there is a need for that. However, there's going to be aspects of this plan that are very much holes. You know, it's almost like, okay, yeah, I'm going to move there, but I don't know what kind of job I'm going to get. I don't know how I'm going to support myself. I don't know where I'm going to live yet. And so it's like you can have an idea of maybe something that you want to try or something that you want to do, but there are a lot of holes in the logic or in the plan that create some fear because of that level of unknown and mystery. And so I feel like some of you guys are in a phase where you are needing to make peace with logic not always being enough and not always having security. And this is also Chiron being in the 4th house of stability and of family and of our comfort zone. You guys might be uncomfortable now because there is some level of insecurity or instability here as you move into the unknown and have all this mystery, and maybe some ideas not work out and things of that nature. You might have to really, really lean on your spiritual side, your more enlightened side with Venus and Pisces, and trust more of this process, and not have to have that security blanket or you know, a step-by-step process already laid out for you before you take that leap of faith. So that's why you're not moving forward. And part of what you need to decide is to be at peace more with this mystery. Another element of what you need to decide is something around relationships or your commitments to an entity or to another person or to a company, because this full moon squares Mars in the 7th house. So there's something about your collaborative efforts with someone or something in your life that you need to get clear about. But that also might be a source of pain or insecurity for you in terms of, I don't want to make this plan because I don't know how other people fit into it, for example. I don't want to commit to this thing because what if it affects this person in X, Y, and Z way? So I can see that when I was pulling cards around, you know, what are some of the pain points with Chiron and Aries, and Mars rules at Chiron. So we can see the pain points in the 4th and 7th house, which is our sense of security and our comfort zone and our home, even our family, and then our relationships or our commitments with people or our collaborations with people or even our work contracts. And I can see that with the Lovers card. It's like yeah, I just think relationships play a key role right now. Maybe you feel like you don't want to let someone down. Maybe you don't want to leave a relationship to go off and try something else that you don't know about. There's so many things that this can manifest as, but it's just somehow going to affect other people in your life. And I think that's playing a really big role in your decision making and making you doubt yourself right now. Um, the world card also came up, and this makes sense for a full moon in the 10th house, which is the most public world oriented house in the astrology. So the world card has a lot to deal with, in many ways, like traditions and expectations, as well as like worldly success. So there's something here where you guys might feel this pressure that you're putting on yourselves, where you want to measure up to a certain expectation set by society. And so these are the things holding you back. It's like these larger levels of thinking where you are not taking certain chances in life because you don't know if it's going to work out and achieve a certain level of success. And because you're worried about maybe taking a leap of faith without that security blanket, and especially if it affects other people in your life and how the roles of relationships or, you know, things that you're committed to or people that you're committed to working with, how that is going to be affected by all this. So I can see that those are the main things kind of getting in your way that you need to make decisions about in order to get to move forward again. So what is your advice here then, given that you need to move forward again? So we have the Two of Cups in reverse, followed by the Four of Wands. So I find it interesting that the blockage was the Lovers, which is a relationship card. And then the advice is the Two of Cups in reverse, which is also a relationship card. But it's in reverse, which suggests to break away from the commitment to your relationships. This means that you don't try to force something to work according to someone else's agenda. If there is an incompatibility, you recognize that you need something different. You maybe need to move a separate way or do something more for yourself in some way. And you can still have a good relationship with the Four of Wands here. So this is going to be different for so many people. So it's hard because I'm like thinking of different examples. If this is anything about issues within a relationship, with the moon in Libra, in many ways, it is about finding some kind of balance with other people. With Chiron opposite it, there is a little bit more of a tendency towards being self-reliant and feeling scared actually to enter into relationships or rely on relationships. But with this card in reverse, I also feel like it speaks to how we can lose part of our individuality within relationships as well. How we can sacrifice part of what we need in order to compromise for the relationship dynamic or for someone else or for a commitment with a company. And this card in reverse is speaking to the fact that you can recognize this incompatibility and choose to still honor your individual needs and take care of yourself and have a good outcome in terms of your relationships. If you're breaking up, this could mean another relationship that's much better. If you're leaving a company, this could be another company that's much better. But it could also mean in that same relationship or same company, or whatever it is that you're involved with, it could still mean that even though there is an incompatibility there, that you are deciding to not worry about, I guess, and to fulfill your own needs instead of prioritizing the relationship. It can still stabilize that relationship with the Four of Wands here. I feel like it's advice, but it's also reassurance that if you decide to do something for yourself, it's not going to just break apart the things that are really stable for yourself. Like if you are in a relationship dynamic and you, like, let me just give an example. Let's say you're married to somebody, but you want to go travel for a month somewhere. Maybe your partner doesn't want that. Maybe they're very stable and they want to stay in the same place, but you have some career aspirations or some life goals that involve you in another place for a month or a couple months. That might feel scary and you might be inclined to say, well, I'm just going to sacrifice for the relationship, do what this person wants. But with the Two of Cups in reverse, it's saying, no, I want you to be connected to what you need as an individual within the relationship. Go off for that month, and when you come back, the relationship will still be strong. And in fact, you might have learned or grown in that time that will actually strengthen the relationship in new ways. And I can definitely see that with the Ten of Pentacles and the Magician card. There's something about this where you guys are meant to be pursuing something that either creates more stability in your life or helps you grow in your career or helps you grow as a person. With this full moon in the 10th house, it is about reaching for more and realizing that you can actually become more stable and more secure, more financially secure, more career successful, as a result of following your own instincts and using your own capabilities with this Magician, using your own skill sets and manifesting this for yourself. So don't hold yourself back from some kind of career growth or life growth because of your concerns about security or your concerns about other people, because it's actually going to lead to greater security and greater relationships with other people as a result of doing what you need to do. So that's what I see for you, Capricorn. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Aquarius rising and sun. For you guys, this full moon in Libra happening on April 12th is taking place in your 9th house. And this is an interesting one because it is opposing Chiron and the sun in Aries. So there is some kind of sensitivity that can come up around this full moon. We might have some difficult conversations, ideas, things that can undermine us, especially on a mental level or belief level or a social level, especially again, according to like communication or conversations. And what I'm seeing with this full moon is that we're needing to make some kind of decision. There's something stagnating in our life that we need to get it moving again. And we need to commit to some type of action to get that moving again. So what is that going to be for you guys? Well, I have 3 piles here. One pile is around what is stagnating and what decision needs to be made. Then I have what's holding you back. So that Chiron energy of the wounding that can make you stay stuck, and then advice. So one quick note, I also think that this is a need to make a decision because this full moon squares Mars, which is in your 6th house in Cancer. So there's something, whenever Mars is in a square to the moon, it's like some behavior needs to change, an action needs to be taken, a decision needs to be made, and we need to get things moving again. These are cardinal signs that we're talking about here. So that's all about initiation and movement. Okay, so what is it that's been stagnant that needs moving or that needs to be decided upon? So we start off with the 7 of Swords. This is a card about strategy. It's a card about sneakiness and deceit. And in a lot of ways, I feel like it can lead to like self-deception. I also think it can talk about being a little bit more like reliant on one's logic or powers of like, you know, social manipulation, or having to do something like discreetly. So let's leave that there. We'll come back to that card. But there's something going on in your life that you may feel like is either happening underneath your nose, or that you have to act in a discreet and like logical way and kind of master people or the situation through your own powers of intelligence, and deceit in certain ways. So that's part of this. Then we have the 5 of Cups. So I just think this is super interesting because most of the cards in this pile are talking about things that are very unseen, and we'll come back to that when we see more cards. But the 7 of Swords is, again, kind of sneaky and underhanded and not visible on the outside. So there's something going on in your life that may actually be very discreet, or you may have to, you may be acting in a way that has to be discreet. And this is also something that is disappointing you. So this area that's stagnating in your life, you might feel like is actually leading to you feel like this is leading you to feel like there's some kind of grief or loss here. There might be changes in your life that are creeping up on you that are not welcome, for example, and you could kind of get in your own head. For example, aging or your parents aging, and it's like you see that this is happening, and or maybe you don't see it's happening, and it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it takes you off guard. We also have the High Priestess, which is talking about again things that are unseen, things that are mysterious. So there's so many cards, again followed by the Seven of Cups, again another card of confusion. This is the card of Neptune, having things be kind of hidden and shrouded in confusion, in the sense that there's a lot of ideas, a lot of options, and not a lot of clarity or focus on what is the right answer. So there's something here where I feel like you guys, there's something in your life that either is stagnant or you need to make a decision about it, but you don't have a lot of clarity. A lot of it is either happening under the sea, underneath the awareness in your life, or again, you are having to operate this part of your life outside of somebody else's awareness. And it feels like it's something that is bringing us, is a source of discomfort, a source of, a source of like grief as well. This full moon is in the 9th house, which is supposed to be a very trusting house, a very intuitive house, a house of belief, a house of faith, a house of understanding. And I feel like that's what you're wanting, but there's something going on here in your life that it feels a little bit more concerning or deceptive or mysterious, and that might be the reason why this element of your life is stagnating. For some of you, this could be financial or have something to do with your material reality, because the ruler of this full moon is in the 2nd house of finances. So there could be some ways that you are having to hide money that you make from your partner, or there could be issues going on around money that you're not really fully seeing and understanding, or maybe somebody has deceived you financially or taken advantage of you financially. These are just examples of things, but they don't have to be specifically about this or even finances. But there's something here where it's like something is going on underneath the surface in some capacity, and it's causing discomfort, and it's also not helping you have clarity around the future and how to move forward, and things aren't able to grow or stabilize in the way that they need to when maybe you're being undermined by somebody else, or you're having to hide stuff, or you're confused about it and you're not certain what the strategy is. So I feel like there's a lot of examples, which is why this is kind of all over the place, but it's like you need things to become clear. The way forward needs to become clear. And also, I feel like this group ends in the Empress card. This is a card of abundance. So I feel like you guys really want a feeling of abundance, and very overtly you want to see that there's money. You want to feel good about the money that you have coming and going. But there's something like tricky here that's happening where you're not super clear on that. You don't maybe have the full faith that the money is there, or that it's being taken care of in the way that it should be, or that you're not sure where your money is going to go. Again, there's so many ways that can manifest, but I hope that this is kind of stirring your mind a little bit as to what this could be. But I really feel like this could be, again, a source of stress, of grief, of disappointment, of guilt, if you are taking part in something that is maybe a little bit hidden or shady. So there's something going on here, and I feel like it could create a messy and complicated relationship with finances, if it's talking about finances, or something else it could involve. But I think it's causing some mental anguish, which is why Chiron is in the 3rd house opposite this moon. It's creating maybe overthinking or uncertainty about yourself or about the way forward. And so, yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the block that's coming through with Chiron and Aries, and then with the square to Mars in the sixth house. Mars rules over Chiron in this instance. So there's a little bit of, again, block or pain or fear or uncertainty with wherever Chiron and Mars both are. So first card we have is the Tower card, and then we have the Three of Cups. So there's something here about maybe the nature of how we this could be so many things. Okay, so for some of you, this could be the breakdown of certain relationships. Maybe you're fearful that if you say something, this will create some divide with you and someone else. If this is something related to work, because Mars is in the sixth house of work, then you might be fearful that if you're honest with how you feel about something or something that's going on, that it can create some tower moment, which is some kind of like destruction or chaos within the workplace. If you're collaborating or working with someone on something, you might be fearful that if it's brought to the surface, or if you find out what's really going on, that it causes some kind of rift or issue within the team bonding or the ability to do something together. So there's a sense of like camaraderie that I feel like you are scared is going to be broken if whatever this is brought to light. And it might be that they are deceiving you or that you are deceiving them. It might not even be deception, but it just is something that's confusing and shrouded in a mystery and not fully like articulated to everybody involved. And so I feel like that's there's some kind of fear around that wreaking havoc within the connections that you have, and your ability to work with other people or accomplish something together. So that's why you maybe haven't fully moved forward to bring everything to the surface and to overtly try to create this abundant reciprocal relationship where you're receiving what you need, because there's something going on here where you're scared it will undermine the success of a work endeavor, of a relationship, of something that you need, where both parties need each other to succeed. So that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to you, because this feels really abstract, and I think it's because there's a lot of ways that this can come about. So your advice from Spirit, we have the Emperor in reverse. So hang on. So the Emperor in reverse is, if we think about the Emperor, it's somebody who is very much in control. They're the leader. They're the one who has like authority over something or power over something. So when this is in reverse, this can talk about like abuse of that power, or needing to let go of some of that power, or letting go of some of that authority or control over something, or like the final say. And so there might be something here where part of your advice is to not just to bring something to the surface, but to also come into more of a period of like trust, either in the other person, or trust in the situation, or trust in your work, or trust in the universe. Like trusting that if you let go of the final say, or if you make something known to people, or if you put yourself in a more vulnerable position, that things will be okay. And with the ruler of this moon, Venus, being in Pisces, there is very much an energy of needing to let go of maybe some of the control over the material reality in some way. And again, trust a little bit more that things are going to work out. So even if this isn't involving someone else, if this is talking about things being like confusing to you, and you're not sure how things are going to work out on a financial level for yourself, and you're worried that it might disrupt your enjoyment of life, I feel like this card is also telling you to trust your intuition on things and not feel like you have to be super like in control of everything and plan it all out and figure it all out, because that might not necessarily work right now. I think what works with the King of Cups is really listening to the other person, or listening to your intuition, listening to your emotions, and having that help guide you along this path. So instead of being very rigid and regimented about like, it's got to be this way, and I don't want to share this information with people, I need to be the one in control of it. It's like being willing to drop those walls and open up to maybe more feedback, or open up to a more intuitive perspective, or a more of a trust and flow rather than a control and dogmatic approach. So that's part of your advice here, is to allow yourself to go through the process of change, necessary change. And that I can see with the Tower card is something that you might be trying to avoid. Like, maybe I don't want to change who's in control here. Maybe I don't want to change like who has the knowledge of this, or who's in charge of this. And that might be something that needs to happen in order for you to actually learn how to embody more of the sense of faith and trust to things outside of your control. Your other piece of advice is 8 of Pentacles and 6 of Pentacles. So I feel like you might need to work on more of like reciprocity right now. And that's what a Libra full moon is about. It's about balance, equal give and take. I work on this, you work on that, and we support each other. There's something about this where I feel like you guys might be at times worried in your mind and wanting to do it all, or control it all, or understand it all yourself. And maybe you need to share more knowledge, or share more responsibility with another person, and come into, again, a more balanced relationship with people where you give them the power as well. So I really hope that this makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Let me know down below, because this feels very abstract in certain ways. So I really look forward to what you say in the comments down below. Please do let me know anything, if this resonates at all, or if it doesn't, let me know that too. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces rising and sun. This Libra full moon is taking place on April 4th in your 8th house. And this is going to be a sensitive full moon, because a full moon in the 8th house can already kind of illuminate our fears, our anxieties, our worries, our insecurities. On top of that, we also have Chiron conjunct the sun directly opposite this moon. And Chiron is the asteroid known as the wounded healer. And so oftentimes when Chiron is involved in a full moon, we can have big feelings and things be illuminated where we realize how we've maybe been driven by certain fears or insecurities because of past experiences that have wounded us and have traumatized us to a degree. So I definitely think you guys are going to become aware of that at this time. And really, I feel like this full moon is about getting out of a period of stagnation and making a movement forward, because we're finally having Venus station direct, which is the ruler of this full moon. It's been retrograde, which is almost like this period of kind of rethinking different areas of our lives. And it's been retrograde through your first house. So there's been a lot of period of reflection on who you are and maybe how you show up to life, to work, to relationships, and what you want out of your life, what you value, and how you see yourself as a person. So there's been a lot of this kind of inward thinking. And now this full moon is happening, and it's showing how you may have been holding yourself back and limiting yourself because of maybe, again, certain fears as a result of past hurtful experiences. And with this moon squaring Mars in the 5th, I really feel like it's about getting us back online, getting our hearts back online, having more hope, and trying to do things that bring us more joy, more social connection, more pleasure, and get out of a rut or a stagnation period. And so I'm going to go ahead and break this down a little bit more specifically, but that's an overview. So I pulled cards on each section that I want to discuss today. So section 1 is what is stagnating in your life and what do you need to make a decision about. The other section is what is holding you back, like what is the wounding that's perpetuating the stagnancy, and then your advice. So let's go ahead and start off with what is stagnating. We start off with the 6 of Cups. This is a card that's very much focused on the past. So if you've had experiences that are nostalgic for you in a negative way, that is what this card is talking about. So I definitely see that though, with the Nine of Swords, when we add them together, we can get this notion that there have been experiences possibly from long ago. It doesn't even have to be that long ago, but there can be experiences that you lay awake at night thinking about, that when you try to maybe express certain aspects of yourself, or when you want to maybe put yourself out there in relationships more, or you want to um I don't know, believe in yourself more, or I feel like a lot of this is going to come down to self-expression and like relationships and socialization, and how you might have had past experiences that were negative that have hurt you. And these are things that have been fodder for nightmares, that have been fueling insecurities and uncertainties about putting yourself out there more in the future. For example, let's say you've always wanted to pursue a career in acting, but then you had an experience as a child where you went up on stage and everyone made fun of you and they laughed at you. And then now you have maybe a fear around doing something creative or pursuing a career like that. Or maybe you had a bad breakup recently, or a social betrayal where something happened and now you don't trust your sense of judgment, and now you're fearful that it could happen again. There's something here where it's like the nightmares are lingering a little bit too much into the present moment, and that's part of what's causing the stagnation. And again, I really do feel like it's around relationships because of the Three of Cups. This is a very social card. Mars, also the ruler of Chiron, is in your fifth house of socialization and self-expression. And so I think a lot of this is around lacking self-confidence, and lacking a feeling of just maybe lacking self-confidence in a way around putting yourself out there a little bit more. And this could also come from like feeling just being a little bit like hyper independent. With Chiron being in Aries, this is a wound for a lot of us that is becoming apparent, where we're just relying a lot on ourselves because we've been hurt by people, and then we start to kind of turn inward and maybe become a little bit more hermit or apathetic about creating relationships, or we don't try as much. Almost like when we see people who are depressed and they're not like getting up and doing the things that they need to do to be happy. That's kind of what I see here, is like being disengaged from cultivating things, that relationships that might help you heal, or doing activities that would be creative or help express yourself, or whatever it is that you're wanting to do that feels maybe authentic to you. It's like you're having some kind of fear around that and not actually pursuing them wholeheartedly. And really part of what I feel like the decision needs to be is to come into a place of honesty and clarity, because I feel like a lot of this energy is actually a nightmare that's in the head. With the Knight of Swords, you can see this little girl like seeing this monster here and feeling like it's going to eat her, but it's a shadow and it's not real. And so something about this is being this experience where you want to stop stagnating, you want to make a decision. I think it's about making the decision to be very honest with yourself and look at the facts without distorting them based off of past fears or past traumatic experiences and that have created fears. It's like, let's look at things objectively. And that's what this Queen of Swords is speaking to, is trying to help you just break things down with clarity instead of feeding into these fears of yours and allowing them to distort reality. So let's talk a little bit more about what the wounding is. We have the 10 of Wands and the 7 of Swords. So I really feel like you guys, again, I think that there's been a lot of like self-deception where you have, with the 7 of Swords, kind of like lied to yourself. Maybe you have, again, distorted a reality or made something worse than it is in your head. Or maybe you lie to yourself and you say, I don't actually want to make friends, or I don't actually want to do that anyway. There's something here where it's like you're deceiving yourself about the situation, about either what you want or what's really going on or how something is affecting you. And it's undermining your ability to move forward in your life. This full moon in the 8th house wants you to be liberated from the shadows, from the fears, so that you can express more of who you authentically are out into the world and embrace maybe more relationships, better relationships with your children, more creative expression, doing more work that is aligned with your natural talents and gifts. Date again if you're single. There's very much an energy of like you're stifling yourself because of these fears or because of past experiences, but you're lying to yourself that that's happening. And so just be aware, like you might downplay that I don't really want that many friends anyway. Just be aware of that because that's not necessarily true. We also see the 10 of Wands. I feel like this card is speaking about how you actually are suffering. Maybe there is some level of discomfort or loneliness or feeling of insecurity or self-worth that is causing some degree of suffering. And we all have suffering. I mean, it's normal, but it's important to acknowledge the suffering with the 7 of Swords instead of just downplaying it or acting like it doesn't exist. Okay, so what is your advice here? We have the King of Wands and Queen of Wands. So to have 2 of the same cards in different, like not genders, but yeah, I guess genders. I don't know. The opposite, but the same suit. I think that this is talking about this mirroring act that we can have with other people, and how part of your advice here is to, in many ways, look at yourself in the mirror, reflect back honestly what you see. And I think another way is with this full moon being in the 8th house, which is very much about like relying on one another and vulnerability with one another and intimacy and sharing resources or sharing emotional experiences. This mirroring is talking about you doing that within relationships, turning to people, relying on people, opening up to people, letting people in, and having this co-reliant type of relationship, not codependent where you need the other person, but where you're both relying on one another in a true partnership. I feel like that is a lot of what this full moon wants, is some level of like intimacy and vulnerability in relationships. We also have the Page of Swords in reverse and the 5 of Pentacles and King of Pentacles. Okay. So the Page of Swords in reverse can talk about where your mind is kind of being used against you. You might be a little bit cynical. You might start to lose faith in people. You might start to feel like you're a little bit cut off from the world, especially with this Chiron in the 2nd house, where you go more into your own shell. And so part of your advice is to come out of this lack mentality where you are overly like focused on what isn't there and becoming cynical about the world. Coming out of that and trying to see with the King of Pentacles where there are opportunities, where there is abundance, where you are actually really supported, where you are really safe. It's almost like trying to rewrite the story that if I go into relationships, I'm going to get hurt. If I take this chance, I'm going to lose out, or it's not going to work, or I'm going to have not the money I need, or whatever this is. And it's really about telling yourself that actually you're going to have the money, you're going to have the support, things are going to work out, and that you're more stable, more safe than you realize. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. I hope that this makes sense for you. I really think it's about coming into a period of opening up and being vulnerable in certain ways, being honest with yourself about what is actually bothering you. And I think also seeing where there is abundance in your life and that you are safe and that you are stable more than you realize. So that's what I have for you. Please let me know if you enjoy this down below if it resonates. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye.